Chapter 803. What Empress Dowager Zhou said, how could Imo Chuan not understand? But understanding it was one thing, and being able to do it was another. For him to be able to stand on the city walls to send her off, it already took a great deal of willpower to do it. Among the people sending her off, Chu Xiaobai and eldest princess Enlu did not appear. Imo Chuan did not blame them because they could not bear to see her leave her homeland and marry tens of thousands of miles away. Although he appeared to be calm on the surface, was his heart even the slightest bit calm? Even Chu Xiaoyang couldn't help chasing after her, but he could only stand there and watch her disappear from his sight, not doing anything at all. Wait a minute. Chen Ning's carriage did not move fast and she had just arrived at the 10-mile-long pavilion outside the city. Once she left this place, she would truly embark on a journey to a foreign country, a journey that she would never return from. At this time, the sound of horse hooves came from the distance and there was a shout that came with the wind. Na Mu Kyo's brows jumped up. He did not turn around and did not order the carriage to stop, acting like he didn't hear anything. However, he pulled the horse's head and approached the side of the carriage. Wait a minute. The shout rang out again and it was much closer this time. Even Chen Ning who was sitting in the carriage heard it. Her brows knit, not wanting to see the person chasing her at all. She had already written the divorce papers, so they had nothing to do with each other from now on. What was the meaning of him chasing her? Did he want to keep pestering her? Ning, don't go. Chu Xiaoyang's horse flew as he quickly chased after her. Na Mu Kyo turned his horse around and stopped in front of it. He reached out with a large palm and grabbed Chu Xiaoyang's horse reins. The horse gave a neigh and stood up. Chu Xiaoyang jumped off the horse's back and made a turn in the air before gently landing on the ground. As soon as his feet touched the ground, he immediately jumped forward and jumped onto the carriage. Opening the bead curtain, he deeply looked at her in her beautiful red dress. Ning, come with me. I'd rather you marry the emperor than marry this East Qin barbarian to East Qin. I don't want to never see you again in this life. He cried out in a powerful voice. Chu Xiaoyang. If you're willing to bet, you must be willing to lose. You've lost to me before, so are you a sore loser? Ning has already divorced you, she has no relationship with you at all, so why are you still bothering her? She is this prince's woman and this prince doesn't like other men calling her by her name. If you keep speaking nonsense, this prince won't be polite to you. Na Mu Kyo shouted in a sharp voice. He pulled out the curved blade from his waist and waved it at Chu Xiaoyang. The guards under him immediately charged forward and surrounded the carriage. Layer after layer, the weapons in their hands were all pointed at Chu Xiaoyang. As long as he gave the order, Chu Xiaoyang would not be able to escape even if he had wings. But Chu Xiaoyang just stared at Chen Ning, ignoring the people around him and ignoring Na Mu Kyo's angry roars. Ning, I said. Ning's Ning, Ning said. I, of it, and I too, Yang, I. Chu Xiaoyang, what use is there in saying this now? Chapter 804. Chen Ning remained silent the entire time, not even looking up at Chu Xiaoyang. Hearing this, she finally raised her eyelashes. Her eyes were as clear as water and there was no joy or anger on her face. I've said before, I don't hate you. Why would I want your life? As for your mistakes, I've already forgiven you, so why are you still bothering me? Instead of bothering about what you've lost, it's better to cherish what you have now. Chu Xiaoyang was stunned and couldn't help asking, what do I have? I've lost you and I already have nothing. No, you do. You still have Chen Baiyun and your unborn child. Chen Ning looked at him and said word for word. What child? That's not my child at all. Chu Xiaoyang's face instantly turned white. His right hand was holding a bead curtain and he unknowingly used force. The beads instantly turned into powder and fell from his palm. So you still don't believe me? Miss Chen clearly said that the child in Chen Bai Yun's stomach belongs to a guard and the man she slept with that day was not me at all. I am innocent. Chu Xiaoyang said in a hoarse voice. Chu Xiaoyang, things have already reached this point and you still want to lie to me. What's the point? I'm not lying to you. He loudly shouted. Chen Ning revealed a taunting smile. Perhaps you aren't willing to believe what happened that day. Perhaps you would rather pretend nothing happened, or perhaps you are willing to believe Miss Chen's words and that the child's father is not you. But you forgot something. Miss Chen personally said to you what the only antidote for that drug is. You and Chen Bai Yun both took the medicine and if Chen Bai Yun can't obtain you, she will die. As for you, it's the same. If you really didn't do anything with Chen Bai Yun, then how did you cure the drug? Even if you really jumped out the window, where is the girl who helped you with the antidote? Chu Xiaoyang was speechless. He forcefully gritted his teeth. He never would have thought that he would miss such a crucial loophole. All right, Ning, I'll tell you. I really did jump out the window that day. Then I went to a brothel and found a brothel girl to help me cure the drug. I was in a daze at the time and I don't remember what that girl looked like at all. I don't remember what happened, I only know that I really didn't do anything with Chen Bai Yun. Chu Xiaoyang, stop making stories. Chen Ning interrupted him. Chu Xiaoyang, don't make up stories. Xiao Ning interrupted him. Before he was even born, his biological father had already denied his existence. He is your flesh and blood. Even if you don't love Chen Bai Yun, do you not have any feelings for your child? She ruthlessly rebuked him. Chu Xiaoyang's face went from red to white and from white to green. His eyes turned cold. What do you want me to do for you to believe that the child isn't mine? He roared in a low voice. Don't treat me as a fool. Although you and Miss Chen cooperated very well that day and your acting was very good, I can still tell if it's true or false. Her eyes were clear and bright, but there was a trace of impatience in them. It wasn't like her eyes were for breathing. She was Chu Xiaoyang's prisoner that day and she didn't want him to be angry, so she didn't say anything. But he still wanted to lie to her now. Chapter 805. Chu Xiaoyang's chin tightened and he took a deep breath. Under her clear eyes, he suddenly felt like he could not hide anything. Everything about him had been seen through by her, what else could he say? But he was still not willing. Ning, even if something really happened between me and her, you can't blame me. I was drugged and you know how strong the drug is. I really did not lie to you because my mind was not clear at the time. When I woke up, I tried my best to forget about it. You can't leave me because of a mistake I made, that is not fair to me. He tightly clenched his fists as he shouted. Fair? Denying Chen Bai Yun and your child like this, how is that fair to her and the child? Chen Bai Yun was not a good person and she deserved this retribution, but wasn't the child in her stomach innocent? Chu Xiaoyang, if you are still a man and you still have a sense of responsibility, you should bring her back from the cold palace and let her safely give birth to your child. Then properly raise that child, don't let him be born without a father. Chen Ning was very calm. Although she hated Chen Bai Yun, she pitied the child in Chen Bai Yun's stomach. But how could Chu Xiaoyang listen to her words at this moment? He was only thinking that she was going to leave him and he could not lose her no matter what. As for Chen Bai Yun and the child, he didn't even want to think about it. Compared to her, they did not even have a place in his heart. Ning, now I know why you have to leave me. You think that I slept with Chen Bai Yun and had a child with her, so I'm already dirty and not worthy of you, right? But why don't I dislike you? I know that man gave you the antidote and I know that you are no longer innocent, but I still have to beg you. I beg you to change your mind and come back to my side. Why can't you do the things that I can? He suddenly turned around and pointed at Namu-kyo. Could it be that he's clean? Could it be that he has never slept with another woman and had a child before? You can marry him, so why can't you forgive me? Chen Ning looked at him and suddenly felt very speechless. She shook her head, her words were all wasted. Chu Xiaoyang, why are you still so stubborn? She divorced you, not because you slept with another woman, and not because you had a child. If you don't understand this, you'll never win her heart. Namu-kyo finally couldn't help speaking as he stared at Chu Xiaoyang. He already looked down on him, but now his eyes were filled with pity and contempt. What a fool! It was no wonder that after being married to her for so long, he had been abandoned by her heart. But at the same time, he felt very lucky that this fool didn't know what love was, or else how could he have married her? Then tell me, why is this happening? Chu Xiaoyang roared out. His mind. This prince won't tell you. If I told you, would I let you take her back? I'm not as stupid as you. Namu-kyo smiled proudly. Chu Xiaoyang went crazy with anger. Just like a mad lion, he suddenly charged forward and grabbed Chen Ning's shoulder. Chapter 806. Chu Xiaoyang, you dare touch her. Namu-kyo suddenly raised the scimitar in his hand and chopped down at Chu Xiaoyang's arm. This move was just a feint, he wanted to force Chu Xiaoyang to retreat. Who would have thought that Chu Xiaoyang would not dodge and he would not move his hand at all? With a tchi sound, it was the sound of the blade cutting into flesh. The sharp blade deeply cut into Chu Xiaoyang's right arm. Blood sprayed out and quickly dyed half of his arm red. But at the same time, his right palm was already pressed against her shoulder. His blood flowed down his palm onto her red wedding dress, making her dress even more red. He did not let go. Even if his right arm was cut into the bone and it was filled with pain, he still tightly held onto her left shoulder. He used a lot of strength, and the more strength he used, the more blood came out. Very quickly, half of her dress was also dyed red by his blood. That blood was hot. Even though she was usually calm, she couldn't help being moved at this moment. Chu Xiaoyang, are you crazy? Why didn't you move your hand back? Do you know that your arm will be cut off? She said in a hoarse voice as she looked at his blood-red eyes. If Namu-kyo had not taken back half of his strength, Chu Xiaoyang's right arm would have already been cut off. That's right, I'm crazy, I've already gone crazy for you. If my arm is broken, then it's broken, I don't care. Seeing me injured and bleeding, does your heart ache? If your heart can still feel pain for me, that means you still have me in your heart. It's just a broken arm, what does it matter? As long as I can keep your heart, I don't care if he cuts off my limbs. Because he had lost too much blood, Chu Xiaoyang's face became even paler. His hand holding her shoulder began to powerlessly tremble. But he did not care at all. He just looked at her face and revealed a smile. Ning, are you willing to leave with me? When she saw his blood, he clearly saw a flash of heartache in her eyes. It was useless for her to hide it. He knew that he was in her heart. Chen Ning's heart began to feel a strange pain. That familiar and strange pain made it hard for her to breathe. She placed her hand on her chest and felt her heart beating faster and faster. She forcefully bit her lips. That feeling came again. She knew that if she kept looking at Chu Xiaoyang's eyes and hearing his heart-rending words, she would faint again. Namu-kyo. She looked away, not looking at him, not listening to him, and just reaching out her hand. Namu-kyo pulled her hand and she was already out of Chu Xiaoyang's grasp. He placed her behind him and his tall body completely covered her. Chu Xiaoyang's right hand reached out, wanting to grab her sleeve, but it fell down powerlessly in midair. Even though Na Mu Kyo's strike did not cut off his arm, but the blade had cut through his bones. His injuries were severe and his entire arm was so weak that it did not have any strength. If it was not for his willpower, he would have collapsed long ago. Xiaoyang's chin. Chu Xiaomu Xiaoyang's eyes and fell in his body, he fell down at Yang's. Ning come with me. He said once again with a pleading look in his eyes. Chen Ning closed her eyes. She took a deep breath and revealed an indifferent expression. It's too late, too late. I will never leave with you. Chapter 807. Third Brother. A white-clothed figure flew over like lightning and caught Chu Xiaoyang falling from the sky. It was Chu Xiaobai. He kept telling himself not to send her off because he was afraid he wouldn't be able to bear seeing her leave. But as time slowly passed, he couldn't help chasing after her. He followed the group and watched her carriage from afar. He just wanted to watch her from afar and silently send her off. He didn't need her to know and he didn't want anyone else to know. He had seen everything that had just happened, but he did not show himself because he did not know what to do. Should he help his third brother persuade her to stay, or should he persuade his third brother to let her leave without any worries? He was hesitating and conflicted. Only when something happened and Chu Xiaoyang was injured did he show himself. Chu Xiaobai quickly tore off his clothes and helped Chu Xiaoyang wrap up the wound on his arm. Seeing the bloody wound that was so deep that he could see the white bone, he couldn't help crying. His third brother's injury was this heavy, how much pain did he have to be in? But his heart should be in more pain than his arm. Others could see the wound on his arm, but what about the wound on his heart? Who could see it? Who could help him wrap it up and stop the bleeding? Chu Xiaobai looked up with tears in his eyes, looking at her standing beside Na Mu Kyo in a bright red wedding dress. She was so dazzling and bright, just like the most beautiful flower in the world. Anyone who saw her would want to pick her up and make her their own. He suddenly understood his third brother. He understood why he would do all these crazy things for her. He wanted her so badly, he wanted to keep her for himself. But he used the wrong method. His methods pushed her further and further away until she couldn't reach him. He was the one who forced her to leave and forced her to marry in a foreign country. Chu Xiaobai looked down at the fainted Chu Xiaoyang. His heart ached for him, but he couldn't help blaming him. Ah Ning, let's continue on our way. Na Mu Kyo helped Shen Ning back into the carriage and then waved his hand, giving the order, let's go. The vast group swept up a cloud of dust. When the dust settled, Chen Ning's carriage had already turned into a small black dot, finally disappearing from sight. Chu Xiaobai watched her leave in a daze. She did not turn back or look at him. She left. She left just like this, not coming back at all. His heart was empty, like it had already left with her. After an unknown amount of time, even the shadow of the carriages could no longer be seen. Chu Xiaobai slowly looked away and blinked his incomparably sore eyes. The tears in his eyes had already been blown away by the wind. He looked down and was shocked to find that in the corner of Chu Xiaoyang's eyes, there were two silently flowing tears. Chu Xiaobai's body heavily trembled. Chu Xiaobai was crying. This to him. But he pretended to be unconscious because he didn't want to see her leave with his own eyes, right? Chu Xiaobai's heart tightened. He never thought that his third brother would be this emotional. Even if he used the wrong method, his feelings were sincere and deep, he would not regret it even in death. But he pretended to be unconscious because he didn't want to see her leave, right? Perhaps this was fate making a fool out of people. The changes of the world were all due to the hands of the heavens. They were just mortals, powerless to resist. Chapter 808. The sky gradually darkened and the East Qin envoys were already over 100 miles away from the capital. They found a place with green mountains and soft water to set up camp. They set up several dozen tents on the grass, and the most beautiful one naturally belonged to Na Mu Kyo and the Crown Princess Chen Ning. Although the two of them were not officially married, they had already decided on their status. So everyone naturally thought that the two of them would live together. When Na Mu Kyo saw his clothes being moved into the tent by the servants and not thrown out, his heart couldn't help wildly beating. His chest was filled with joy. This was her tacit approval. Na Mu Kyo excitedly opened his lips, revealing his white teeth. He couldn't stop smiling. He stood outside the tent and opened his throat, happily singing a song. That low and intoxicating song drifted through the night, making everyone who heard it couldn't help revealing a smile. They all knew that the Crown Prince was known as the Nightingale of the Prairie. His song was even more beautiful than the nightingale and the heavenly bellbird combined, but the Crown Prince never sang it. Even if he sang, he would only do it in a place where there was no one around, singing a sad song in a low voice. But today, he was singing an emotional love song. He sang very emotionally, as if he was narrating his feelings. Her eyes were so bright and beautiful, even clearer than the water in the sacred lake on the snowy mountain. Her figure was so graceful, like a snow lotus that could walk. Although this was a love song that everyone in East Qin had heard before, when Na Mu Kyo sang it, it was especially moving. Everyone knew that the Crown Prince was confessing his feelings to the future Crown Princess. But when they heard this moving song, they couldn't help flying away. They thought of the cute smiling face of their lover, as if it was right in front of them. Na Mu Kyo finished singing the love song, but he still couldn't suppress the excitement and joy in his heart. He jumped into the clear river to take a bath and put on new clothes, cleaning himself up to see her. This was the most important day for him and her. He did not want the sweat on his body to stink her. Your Highness. Na Mu Kyo opened the curtain and walked in with large steps. The maids in the tent all bowed to him. But he turned a blind eye to them. When he came in, his eyes stared at Chen Ning, who was sitting in front of the dressing table with her back to him. All of you, leave. He waved his hand, and the maids immediately retreated without making a sound. There was only him and her left in the large tent. There were no other eyesores and it became very quiet. Na Mu Kyo could hear his heart beating fast. Ah Ning. He called out. His voice was slightly trembling because he was very excited. Na Mu Kyo, I've been waiting for you. Na Mu Kyo, I've been waiting for you. More than a dozen bright candles were lit in the tent, and the candlelight shone on her jade-like face. Her eyebrows and eyes were clear, and she was smiling. Na Mu Kyo was stunned, he almost couldn't believe his ears. Na Mu Kyo was stunned. He suddenly felt very regretful. If he had known that she was waiting for him, he would have directly come in. Why did he have to take a bath and waste so much time? That's right, I'll wait for you to come in and personally say goodbye to you. Na Mu Kyo, I'm leaving. Chapter 809. You want to leave? Why? The smile on his face disappeared and it was replaced with a taut face and dark eyes. It was like the calm before the storm. Only now did he notice that she had already taken off the bright red crown princess gown and the dazzling jewel-studded head ornament. Her dark hair that was like a waterfall was casually tied up and she was wearing a simple white dress. The style was the most common West Chu style with a single glance. There was not a single bright color on her body, but it was like a lotus that was naturally carved. Compared to her gorgeous dress, it was even more ethereal. This is what we agreed on a long time ago, isn't it? Chen Ning revealed a smile. Her smile was bright and lively, just like a flower blooming in the night. Her eyes were bright, as if all the stars in the sky were in her eyes. Na Mu Kyo tightly gritted his teeth. That's right, agreement. The agreement he made with her. He promised her that if she lost in the steel reading competition, he would agree to one of her conditions. Therefore, this was the condition that she had proposed. All of this was just a play for everyone in the West Chu country to see. He was just an actor playing along with her, but he was too deep in the play. He was so deep that he couldn't pull himself out, and he didn't want to pull himself out. Na Mu Kyo, thank you for sincerely helping me. Na Mu Kyo, thank you for helping me so sincerely, you've done too well. You allowed me to divorce Chu Xiaoyang in front of everyone, you allowed me to feel proud in front of everyone, and you even exempted our West Chu from paying a year's tribute without any hesitation. I thank you on behalf of the West Chu citizens. If you need my help in the future, as long as you say it, Chen Ning will definitely go through fire and water for you. However, I have to leave now because he is waiting for me. If I don't leave, he might really think that I left with you. Chen Ning picked up the bag she had already prepared and placed it on her back. She revealed a faint smile to Na Mu Kyo and waved her hand. Ah Kyo, goodbye. She floated towards the door like a swallow. A large and powerful hand suddenly grabbed her wrist and forcefully pulled her. In the next moment, she was thrown onto the thick cushioned bed by Na Mu Kyo. Na Mu Kyo moved forward and pressed her down. He held her wrists, not allowing her to move at all. He closed in on her, and that handsome face was magnified in front of her eyes. His deep black eyes were filled with a burning rage. The smile on his face disappeared. Because her words were like a bucket of ice water, pouring a chill through his heart, causing the blood in his body to freeze. You want to leave? Is it that easy? What do you think I, Na Mu Kyo, am? Throw me away after using me? He gritted his teeth, and his anger had already enveloped his entire being. Right now, he was like a man-eating beast, and she was the prey under his claws. She had nowhere to run. He would not let her escape. Chen Ning's face did not have a trace of panic as she calmly looked at him. This is the condition we agreed upon. Is your highness going to go back on your word? Chapter 8:10. But so what if he lost his status? He wouldn't let her go no matter what. He was not a second Chu Xiaoyang, and he didn't want to be a second Chu Xiaoyang. Your highness, meaning is that you want to make it real and you really want to marry me as your princess. Chen Ning blinked her eyes. Now everyone knows that the woman this prince wants to marry is you, and this news will quickly spread to East Qin and reach my royal father's ears. If this prince goes to West Chu and doesn't receive the tribute and the beauty runs away, I'll return empty-handed. How do you want me to explain this to my royal father? Ah Ning, I'm not forcing you to stay, but think for me. I'm doing my best to help you, is this how you repay me? Na Mu Kyo took in a breath and the anger in his chest calmed down a bit. He looked down at her and waited for her reply. Chen Ning bit her lips and said in a soft voice, of course I've thought for you. Na Mu Kyo, I've already thought of everything you've thought of. I won't make it hard for you. You can exempt the West Chu citizens from a year's tribute, so I've already prepared a gift for you. She looked at the bundle beside her with her lips and said, let me go and I'll show it to you. I think you'll like this gift. I don't want any gifts, I just want you. You are the best gift. Ah Ning, marry me. I'll treat you well, I won't lock you up like that bastard Chu Xiaoyang. His words came to an abrupt halt as he saw the corner of her lips curl up into a sarcastic smile, causing his face to instantly turn red. Her eyes seemed to be saying, aren't you like Chu Xiaoyang? Then what difference is there between your current actions and his? Na Mu Kyo was embarrassed and angry. He quickly stood up and pulled her up, letting her sit on the soft cushion as he said, is this fine now? Let's have a good talk and I definitely won't make a move against you again. Chen Ning smiled. She knew that Na Mu Kyo was different from Chu Xiaoyang. He was very direct and impatient, but he had a naivety and straightforwardness that Chu Xiaoyang lacked. That was why she dared to take the risk. Ah Kyo, do you really not want to see the gift I've prepared for you? You can decide after you see this gift. Do you want the gift, or do you want me? If you're determined to make me your princess, alright, then I'll go with you without any hesitation. Na Mu Kyo's eyes lit up and he immediately said, I want you, not the gift, I don't need to choose. You should look at the gift first before making your decision, alright? Chen Ning smiled as she opened her bag. She took out a small booklet and placed it in Na Mu Kyo's hands. Na Mu Kyo flipped open the booklet without much interest. It was filled with pictures and the booklet was very thin, only 5 or 6 pages. What? What you drew? Did you draw? As soon as he saw the picture at the top, he stopped breathing, his eyes widened, and the words that came out of his mouth came to an abrupt halt. He didn't speak anymore. His eyes scanned the book greedily, not missing a single detail. After finishing one page, he quickly flipped to the next, page after page. He looked very carefully, and his breathing became heavy. It was obvious that he was very excited. Chapter 8:11. She knew that this gift would definitely move his heart. There's nothing else. Why is there nothing else? Ah Ning, where are the other blueprints? I want to see them, quickly give them to me. Na Mu Kyo flipped to the last one and revealed a look of disappointment. He looked up and anxiously looked at Chen Ning with an excited expression. Of course there are other blueprints, but I can't show them to you right now. Ah Kyo, this is the gift I want to give you. If you choose me, then I'll take back this gift. Of course, if you like this gift, I'll draw out the rest of the blueprints in detail and give it to you. She looked at him with a smile and slightly narrowed eyes. Na Mu Kyo angrily stared at her and said through gritted teeth, Ah Ning, you are a sly fox. Doing this, it's not honest. Chen Ning revealed a blushing smile, yes, you're right. However, this gift I'm giving you, it should be enough to pay a year of West Chu's tribute, right? If you are willing to accept it, the ones who will benefit will be the hundreds of thousands of East Qin citizens. They will be grateful to you for generations and your name will be recorded in history, passing down through the ages. Ah Kyo, now you should believe that I'm not an ungrateful person, right? Na Mu Kyo did not deny it. His eyes fell onto the booklet and then onto her face. There was a fierce battle in his heart, but he could not make up his mind. This was because the gift Chen Ning gave him was completely out of his expectations. The temptation was just too great, it was so great that he could not resist it at all. But he was not willing to give up on her. The more he interacted with her, the more he found that she was an endless treasure. She would give him a pleasant surprise at any time. His mind turned and he suddenly looked up. He looked at her and revealed a confident smile. Ah Ning, you've really given me a very difficult problem, but it is also a very clever problem. You almost confused me, why must I choose? Of course I want you. His eyes sparkled as he broke out in laughter. Chen Ning revealed a faint smile and said with a nod, all right, then give it back to me and I'll burn it. She took the booklet from Na Mu Kyo's hands, but he held it tightly with a look of reluctance in his eyes. What, your highness can't bear to part with this gift? She looked at him with a teasing gaze. Of course. I'm willing. The one this prince can't bear to part with is you. Although Na Mu Kyo said this, he still couldn't bear to let go. Chen Ning said with a smile, let's say this first, if you want me, you can't take this gift. Don't think that after I marry you, I will give you this blueprint. That is impossible, I will keep my word and keep my word. This was what Na Mu Kyo was in his heart, but he never thought that Chen Ning would say it. He was instantly stunned. She Ah Ning, why are you forcing me like this? He said through gritted teeth. Chapter 8:12. It's not. It's not. There is only a single Yili Xian in this world, there will never be anyone that can replace her. Ah Ning, I thought your eyes were like hers before, but after being with you for a few days, I understand you more and more. You are different from Yili Xian, I truly want to marry you as my princess, I truly do. Na Mu Kyo was filled with excitement as he forcefully grabbed her hand. His palm was burning hot and his eyes were even more intense. But Ah Kyo, the person I like is not you. I am a very stubborn person, I will not easily fall in love with others, but once I do, I will not change. I am very clear on what I want. Ah Kyo, you are also clear on what is most important to you and that is definitely not me. Otherwise, between me and this present, you would not hesitate at all, you would choose me without any hesitation. For you to be tempted by this present, it means that in your heart, the citizens are more important than your personal feelings. Ah Kyo, you will definitely become a wise and godly emperor in the future. The East Qin citizens will be happy to have an emperor like you. Chen Ning's voice was very calm, but her eyes were filled with determination. Na Mu Kyo looked at her for a while before slowly letting go of her hand. He nodded. You are the person that understands me the most in this world. Ah Ning, you're right. Compared to you, it is much more important in my heart. He grabbed the blueprint and suddenly stood up, turning his back to Chen Ning. Leave. Before this prince changes his mind, you have to leave now. Otherwise, this prince will regret it. Chen Ning's eyes instantly lit up. She knew that she had won the bet. She was finally free. Ah Kyo, I will send someone to deliver the remaining blueprints to you in 10 days, I will not go back on my word. After she finished speaking with a smile, she carried her little bag on her back and walked out with light footsteps. When she reached the door, she suddenly stopped and turned around. Ah Kyo. Na Mu Kyo's heart filled with hope. She changed her mind. She wasn't leaving. I'll return this to you. She took the iron eagle from her neck and placed it in his hand. Na Mu Kyo did not turn around. He could guess what it was when his finger touched it. He turned his hand and placed the eagle back into her hand. The things this prince has given out, there is no reason to take them back. Ah Ning, they belong to you. Chen Ning shook her head, I can't accept this. This is something passed down in your East Qin country, it has a special meaning. The person you should give it to is your future crown princess and the future empress. That person definitely will not be me. Ah Ning, it is still too early for you to say these words. Who knows what will happen in the future? Perhaps that emperor will abandon you one day. If it's like this, you can come to East Qin, I will always be waiting for you. Na Mu Kyo did not turn and spoke with his back to her. He didn't dare to turn around, and he didn't dare to look at her. He was afraid that if he did, he would regret his decision. He would regret letting her go. He will never abandon me. Chen Ning revealed a faint smile. Then I will continue to wait, until that day comes. Kyo. There are so many good girls in the world, and there are many more girls who are better and more beautiful than me. Chapter 8:13. Chen Ning tightly gripped the Tsang-Yuan eagle. She knew that he was serious and that he would really change his mind. She closed her mouth and walked out without saying a word. She opened the curtain and walked out, but Na Mu Kyo did not turn back at all. The moment she stepped out of the tent, he softly said, Ah Ning, I'll make a bet with you. You'll definitely come back to find me. His voice was very, very soft. It was so soft that Chen Ning thought she was hearing things. She was in a very happy mood and did not have the mind to think if it was him saying those words or if there was something wrong with her ears. She jumped onto a horse that was tied to a tree, whipped the horse as if it was flying, and galloped back the way she came. The East Chin envoys all recognized who she was. Seeing her leave, they did not stop her because without the crown prince's orders, no one dared to make a move. The sky was very dark and it was already close to midnight. There were few stars in the night sky and the light was dim, making it hard to see the road. But Chen Ning rode the horse very fast. Everything in front of her was beautiful, bright, and colorful. That happy feeling filled her chest. She could not wait to return to the capital city, she wanted to see Mo Chuan. She could not wait a moment longer. After waiting for so long and suffering for so long, she finally got her wish. She was free. She finally got rid of the status of the Dingyuan princess and it was like throwing off a shackle. She felt her body relax and she had reached an agreement with Na Mu Kuo. He had finally let her go. Chen Ning took a deep breath and even the air was filled with the refreshing feeling of freedom. Her lips were curled up and a smile covered her face. She was the only one riding on the road. The horse's hooves hit the road, creating a clear sound that broke the silence of the night. When the sky was getting brighter, she finally arrived at the 10-mile-long pavilion. When she saw the little pavilion bathed in the morning light, she was so excited that tears almost came out. She was back, she was finally back. But very quickly, the smile on her face froze. The horse's steps also slowed down. The pavilion was empty, there was not a single person in sight. Chen Ning rubbed her eyes and looked around again. The pavilion was still empty on all sides. What happened? Why wasn't Mo Chuan here? She had clearly made an agreement with him that they would meet here, but where was he? Why wasn't he here? Chen Ning's heart sank. She knew that Mo Chuan did not appear because something must have happened. Otherwise, even if the sky fell, he would still be here waiting for her. She jumped off the horse and walked step by step towards the pavilion. Entering the little pavilion, she looked all around her. There was no one. Gusts of cold wind blew from all directions. She couldn't help but shiver. That joy had already disappeared, and at the same time, a deep worry surfaced in her heart. Mo Chuan. She raised her voice. Although she knew that no one would answer her, she still cried out. A voice in her heart told her that something must have happened to him. Something must have happened. Ning. She heard a familiar voice from behind her. Hallucination, she must be hallucinating. Mo Ning's Mo, Chuan, Chin came, Ning, Mo. Ling. However, tears suddenly gushed out of her eyes. Chapter 8:14. It didn't seem like an illusion, it seemed like it was real. Chen Ning slowly turned around and she saw Mo Chuan with a single glance. He was standing not far behind her. His figure was tall and straight, with jet black eyebrows and clear eyes. There was a faint misty aura around his body and she saw him open his arms to her. She jumped into his embrace. She jumped so hard that it hurt her chest. She seemed to hear a sigh sound and he also felt the pain. But he immediately tightened his hold on her, tightly holding her in his embrace. It was like if he let go, she would disappear. Mo Chuan, where did you go? I thought you weren't here, I thought something happened to you. You scared me to death. Her voice vaguely floated out from his embrace. Mo Chuan's heart was filled with excitement, but hearing her words, he wanted to laugh and feel touched. He stroked her hair. I've been waiting here for you, not even taking half a step away. I promised you that I wouldn't leave until I see you, so how could I not be here? Then why didn't I see you? She looked up in confusion from his embrace. Mo Chuan tapped the tip of her nose and pointed up. With a smile, he said, I've been lying in the pavilion watching the stars. I told myself that when the stars in the sky disappeared, you would appear. Then, you really did appear. She bit her lips and wanted to laugh. Nonsense, I don't believe you didn't see me. Even if you didn't see me, you should have heard the sound of horse hooves. I heard it, but I didn't dare believe it was you. I thought I was dreaming. I really didn't dare believe it. You left without turning back, I thought. You thought I really left with Na Mu Kyo, right? You think that I really want to marry him and become the crown princess, don't you? Mo Chuan, why don't you believe me? Chen Ning interrupted him and her pretty face turned serious. She had clearly told him that she had absolute confidence in what she wanted to do, but he still doubted her, so she couldn't help but be angry. Of course I believe you, but I don't believe Na Mu Kyo. I don't believe he would let you go this easily. How did you make him willingly let you go? He lowered his head to look at her. Seeing her eyes shining like stars, his heart skipped a beat. This was real. It wasn't a dream, nor was it an illusion. She was really in his embrace. He could feel the softness and warmth of her body. It made his restless heart calm down. Actually, he didn't need to ask anything. He didn't want to know anything. As long as he held her, he would have everything. As for the reason, it wasn't important at all. Chen Ning did not answer his question. She buried her head back into his chest and put her ear close to his chest, listening to the strong and steady beat of his heart. Each beat was like the most moving sound in the world. It was even more touching than Na Mu Kyo's love song. After an unknown amount of time, Mo Chuan finally let go of his arms. He lifted her chin and looked deeply into her face, looking over her face. His eyes wandered over her face. Chapter 8:15. The faint morning light illuminated her face. Her smile was clear and her eyes were bright, giving her a kind of beauty that was hard to describe. He knew what she meant. The sky was bright, so he should go to morning court. This was his responsibility and obligation as the emperor. But on such a bright and sunny morning, seeing her smile like a blooming flower, he suddenly wanted to throw away the heavy burden on his shoulders. He longed to be an ordinary person. At this time, going to a quiet place with his beloved girl, even if they didn't say anything and just sat there quietly, holding hands, it was an indescribably beautiful feeling. Come with me. He suddenly made up his mind. Holding her hand, he brought her onto the horse that she had ridden. His legs gently squeezed and the horse began to gallop. Where are you taking me? Hey, Mo Chuan, aren't you going to morning court? The cool morning wind blew in and Chen Ning opened her eyes wide in Mo Chuan's embrace. She found that Mo Chuan wasn't taking her in the direction of the capital or the direction Na Mu Kyo left, but rather in the direction of the rising sun. I'm not going. Mo Chuan firmly replied. He tightly gripped the horse's reins and controlled the direction they were going. His future life would be like this horse's reins, firmly grasped in his hands. Chen Ning did not ask any more. She leaned into his embrace and quietly closed her eyes. No matter where Mo Chuan took her, she did not care. His direction was her direction and she would be with him for the rest of her life, never to be separated again. The horse finally stopped. Mo Chuan jumped off the horse and reached out to catch Chen Ning. Chen Ning found that they were in the middle of a field. There was a large vegetable field that was growing very well, looking very green. There were farmers in the field watering and fertilizing the crops. Old uncle, do you need help? We can help you water the crops. Mo Chuan pulled Chen Ning's hand and walked in front of a white-haired old man. He was currently sitting on the field with a straw hat in his hand, gasping for breath. There were 2 large buckets of water beside him and it seemed like he couldn't carry any more, so he was resting on the side of the road. Hearing this, the old man was pleasantly surprised. He looked up at Emo Chuan and found that it was a stranger, so he hesitated. "This little brother, you want to help me carry water? I don't have any money to give you." "We don't need money. We just saw that old uncle is tired of carrying water, so we wanted to help." Emo Chuan replied with a smile. The old man saw that Emo Chuan was very handsome and spoke politely. The girl beside him was like a fresh flower, so he didn't look like a bad person, so he nodded. "Little brother, you have a good heart. I'll have to trouble you to help me carry this water to the other side. As for this lady, it's better for her to sit here and rest. Don't tire your wife out. Shao 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 of your wife." When they heard this, Emo Chuan's words, Emo, shao Emo, of heart. Shao 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 Emo. After he finished watering the 2 buckets of water, he went to carry 2 more buckets until he had watered the entire field of the old man's house. Only then did he carry the empty buckets back to the old man's side. His face was not red, and he was not out of breath. Chapter 8:16. The old man nodded and his wrinkled face was filled with a smile. "We have to thank the current emperor, allowing our citizens to live better and better lives. However, we still have to thank a person this year. In order for our citizens to live better lives, she would rather live a bitter life. I wonder who old uncle is talking about?" Emo Chuan asked in a curious voice. "Of course it's our Ding Yuan princess." No, she is no longer the princess consort, we should call her the crown princess. In order for us to be exempted from a year's tribute, she abandoned her home and married to East Qin, sacrificing a lifetime of happiness. She truly is a good girl. If I can see her, I will definitely kowtow to her to thank her for her kindness." The old man rambled on, his 2 turbid eyes glowing. Emo Chuan couldn't help looking at Qin Ning. He had a smile on his face and his expression was filled with an indescribable pride. Hearing other people praise his beloved girl, he felt proud. Especially seeing the citizens thank her for her sacrifice, it made his heart sigh with emotion. When she first suggested this to him, he rejected her without even thinking because he couldn't bear for her to take the risk. But now it seemed like he understood her good intentions. She was not just doing this for their future, she was thinking even further than him. She knew that a year's worth of tribute would bring great benefits to West Chu and the citizens would be able to live a stable life. As for next year, he already had a better plan for next year. What he needed now was time. Ever since he ascended to the throne, he had been burdened by the huge amount of silver tribute every year. He could not bear to raise the taxes, nor could he bear to increase the burden on the people. Every time, he had to rack his brains to collect this amount of silver. He had long been mentally and physically exhausted. Now that she had given West Chu a full year of breathing space, with this year of preparation, he could rest and then show off his skills. He would not let his country be in a situation where they could only take a beating and not fight back. Emo Chuan stood in an endless field and looked over it. The golden sunlight shined down on the ground and his chest was filled with lofty aspirations. His body was bathed in the golden sunlight, standing tall like a pine tree. His brows were filled with a bright glow. Chen Ning saw his expression and could already guess his thoughts. She couldn't help revealing a faint smile. He was proud of her, so how could she not be proud of him? Not only did he have her in his heart, he also had the citizens. Only with a country would there be a home. She stood next to him, holding his hand as she looked at the flourishing mountains and rivers in front of her. Little brother, little girl, you've been tired all day, so you must be hungry, right? If you don't mind, how about you come to my house for a simple meal? The old man sent them an invitation. Mo Chuan found that his stomach was rumbling with hunger. He looked up at the sky and couldn't help being shocked. It turned out that it took him more than half a day to fetch water and water the vegetables. When they arrived, it was still dawn and the sun had just risen, but now it was already dusk. He looked at Chin Ning with a face filled with guilt. He was busy and she had to wait for him on the side, starving him for half a day. Chapter 8:17. Her words were filled with ridicule. Mo Chuan found this funny and angry at the same time. Alright, we're willing to eat at the old uncle's house, but we're afraid of troubling the old uncle. Chin Ning smiled at the old man and happily agreed. No trouble, no trouble. If the two of you are willing to come to my hut, then you are guests that we can't ask for. The old man picked up the 2 buckets with a smile. Stepping on the afterglow of the setting sun, he leisurely walked back to his home. Mo Chuan held Chin Ning's hand and followed behind him, admiring the scenery of the fields under the dusk. The old man's house was in a small courtyard not far from here. A white-haired old woman was feeding the chickens in the yard. Seeing the 3 people walk in, she couldn't help being stunned. Old woman, quickly prepare a meal and entertain these 2 guests. This little brother is really kind. Seeing that I can't carry water, he took the initiative to help me carry it and even watered all the crops. He has been busy since morning and hasn't even had time to eat. When the old woman heard this, she thanked Mo Chuan and Chin Ning. Then she went into the kitchen and began to cook. The old man led the 2 of them into the room and said with a smile, "Little brother and little miss, there is no need to be so restrained. My house is very simple, but the room is still very clean. If the 2 of you are not in a rush, you can stay here for the night." Hearing this, Mo Chuan's heart couldn't help skipping a beat. He looked at Chin Ning, wanting to see what she thought. Chin Ning said with a smile, "Many thanks, old uncle. Then I'll stay in the same room with the old woman tonight." My brother and old uncle can stay in the same room." When she said the words, "my brother," her voice was very gentle. She looked over at Mo Chuan and her eyes moved, making Mo Chuan's heart beat faster. The old man shook his head with a smile and said, Little miss, I don't think you 2 are brother and sister. Please allow me to ask, are you 2 lovers who eloped?" When Mo Chuan and Chin Ning heard this, their faces turned red. The old man gave a laugh and looked at the 2 of them with a very kind gaze. "Little brother and little miss, there is no need to be shy. Back then, my family's old woman and I were also young. In the past, her father thought that my family was poor and didn't want her to marry me, so she secretly ran away with me. After several decades, I became old and her hair turned white. She lived with me for several decades and ate simple food for several decades, but we were still very happy. Why did you elope? Little brother, you don't seem like you come from a poor family. This little flower-like little girl, why did your father and mother dislike her?" He saw that Mo Chuan and Chin Ning were both very beautiful, but their speech was different from the country people like them. Although Chin Ning was wearing a normal girl's clothes, her skin was as white as tofu, so she was definitely rich. Mo Chuan was also very handsome, so no matter how he looked at them, they were a match made in heaven. Mo Chuan had a very good impression of them, so he thought. He wanted them to say. Mo Chuan and Chin Ning smiled, thinking that they couldn't tell the story between them to this old man. Chapter 8:18. The old man smiled as he left the room, even closing the door for the 2 of them. There were only the 2 of them left in the room. They looked at each other and couldn't help laughing. This old uncle's eyes are like a torch, seeing that we are not husband and wife with a single glance. I am very curious, why did he say that we are lovers and not husband and wife? Mo Chuan asked in a puzzled voice. He did not expect her to answer, but he had a question in his heart, so he casually asked it. Chen Ning said with a smile, "This old man is old and has a lot of experience. Of course he can see that husband and wife and lovers are different." "What's the difference?" "Ning, do you know? Why don't you tell me?" Her cheeks turned slightly red and she revealed a shy look as she stared at him. "I don't know either." Actually, she naturally knew. There was naturally a different meaning between lovers and husband and wife. Because they hadn't tied the knot yet, they were extremely affectionate, and every gaze they looked at each other was filled with affection. Although they were extremely attached to each other, they carried a complicated state of mind that was filled with worry and joy for the future. It could only be understood and could not be explained. So, she could feel it, but she could not explain it to Mo Chuan. "Ning, can you guess why I brought you here?" Mo Chuan took a step forward and held her hand, looking at her as he spoke. She said with a smile, "Let me guess. You must have eaten too much of the royal palace's fish and meat, so you want to eat the common people's porridge and plain rice, right?" She was in a good mood, so she couldn't help joking with him. You little girl, you actually dare to make fun of this one. Aren't you afraid of this one cutting off your head?" Mo Chuan found it funny in his stomach, but he pretended to be angry on his face. He put on a serious face and reached out to grab her. I don't dare make fun of the Emperor. Sir Emperor, please forgive me, I won't dare do it again." She laughed and crawled under his arm. "You can avoid death, but you can't escape punishment. This one wants to spank your butt." As soon as he reached back, he had already wrapped his arms around her slender waist. He lifted her up and placed her on the bed. Raising his hand, he looked like he was about to slap her. "All right, hit me, hit me." She revealed a clear smile, not showing any fear at all. "How could I bear to hit you? Ning, you don't know how much I missed you." He lowered his head and used his lips to block her laughter. He deeply kissed her, sending all of his longing to her. She raised her arm and wrapped it around his neck. The two of them embraced and kissed. They were immersed in the joy and passion of their reunion, completely forgetting everything around them. In the courtyard, the old man and the old woman were killing a chicken and skinning its feathers. When they heard the intimate laughter of the two people in the room, they couldn't help but smile. They both recalled that when they were young, they used to be like this pair of lovers, with endless words of love. However, they were not as bold as this pair of lovers. They actually dared to pretend to be the emperor. TSK, sure enough, the new generation surpassed the old. They were old and could not be as bold and unrestrained as the young people. Listening and listening, the room suddenly became silent. The old man and the old woman looked at each of them. The granny's wrinkled face suddenly revealed an embarrassed smile, and the old man immediately understood. Chapter 8:19. It was said to be a simple meal, but the old man and the old woman had prepared a sumptuous meal. They had slaughtered a chicken in their yard and cooked a large pot of chicken soup, releasing a fragrant smell. There were also several farm dishes that were colorful and pleasing to the eye, making people want to eat them. Mo Chuan picked up his chopsticks and stared at a dish on the table. He asked, "Old woman, what is this dish? I've never seen it before." He lived in the royal palace, living a luxurious life, eating countless delicacies in the world, but facing a normal farm table dish, he was filled with surprise. The old uncle and the old woman were stunned. When they were about to reply, Chen Ning had already said, "You don't recognize this dish. This dish has a very nice-sounding name." "What nice-sounding name?" Mo Chuan turned to look at her. She replied in a serious voice, "This dish is called golden-laid white jade plate, red-beaked green parrot brother." Mo Chuan repeated, "Golden-laid white jade plate, red-beaked green parrot brother." This name was indeed special and pleasant to listen to. Moreover, it looked more and more like this dish. The white jade plate thing had a golden glow on the four sides and a snow-white center. Wasn't this the gold-inlaid white jade plate? As for the red-beaked green parrot brother, it was a vegetable. With its red roots and emerald green leaves, it really did look like a green parrot with a red beak. Good name, good name. I think the taste shouldn't be wrong. Mo Chuan praised. The old woman gave an "I-O" sound and began to laugh. What white jade plate, green parrot brother, this little miss is truly interesting. This dish is the most normal one, it's spinach tofu. Could it be you two have never eaten it before? She looked at Mo Chuan in a strange manner. Spinach tofu. Mo Chuan's face turned red to his ears and he glared at Chen Ning. She was becoming more and more daring. She was actually playing tricks on him, making him look like a fool in front of these two old men. Let's see how he will take care of her. Chen Ning laughed until she rubbed her stomach, not being able to stand up straight. She had once read such a joke in a book. It was about an emperor who was traveling incognito. Halfway through the journey, he was caught in the rain and stayed at a farmer's house. He had a simple meal, and on the table was this spinach roasted tofu dish. The emperor didn't know what it was, but he thought it was delicious. When he asked the farmer for the name of the dish, the farmer made up a name, gold inlaid with white jade, red-beaked green parrot. Later, when the emperor returned to the palace, he couldn't forget about this dish. He ordered the imperial chefs to make the same dish. The imperial chefs had never heard of a white jade plate or a green parrot. They were so anxious that their hair turned white. Later, after much difficulty, they found out that the dish came from a farmer. They invited the farmer into the palace to make this dish. The emperor saw that the dish was exactly the same as the one he had eaten before and was extremely happy. However, after taking a bite, he revealed a look of disappointment and refused to take a second bite. Because the taste of this dish was ordinary, he didn't know that he was hungry at that time, so he took this simple peasant dish as the most delicious delicacy in the world. Chen Ning had thought that this was just a joke, but she never thought that this kind of thing would actually happen in front of her. Thinking of Mo Chuan's believing expression, she laughed until her stomach hurt. Chapter 820. Chen Ning felt the pain and let out an "I-O" sound. She raised her hand, but she didn't notice that the old woman was bringing a bowl of chicken soup in front of her. When she raised her hand, the old woman couldn't hold the bowl properly and the soup spilled out, splashing onto her dress. I'm sorry. It's all this old woman's clumsy hands that dirted little Miss clothes. I'll help you clean it up. The old woman quickly apologized and then took a handkerchief to wipe it on her dress. It's fine, old woman, it's fine. It's just a bit of soup, it's fine. Chen Ning stopped her with a smile. The old woman still had an apologetic look on her face as her hands continued to work. She inadvertently raised her elbow and knocked over the bowl of soup in the old man's hand. The soup spilled onto Mo Chuan's clothes, instantly soaking them. You old woman, why are you always so careless? You've dirted the clothes of these two guests. The old man revealed a serious expression. The old woman had a look of panic as she pulled Chen Ning's hand and said, Little miss, don't blame this old woman. How about this? I still have some clothes I wore when I was young. If you don't mind, how about I bring you to change into them? Chen Ning said with a smile, Old woman, it's really fine. The old woman was very persistent. She pulled Chen Ning's hand to the room on the side, but after taking 2 steps, she turned around. Old man, what are you sitting there in a daze for? Quickly take out the clothes you wore when you were young and help this little brother change into them. The old man nodded and then apologized to Mo Chuan. Mo Chuan didn't want to change clothes, but he loved cleanliness. Wearing these wet and greasy clothes made him feel very uncomfortable, so he followed the old man into another room. The old man rummaged through the suitcase and finally took out a piece of clothing for Emo Chuan. Little brother, you can wear this. The other clothes have been eaten by insects, only this one is still intact. When Emo Chuan saw this, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This was actually a large red robe. The style was simple and it looked like it had been worn for decades, but the color was still as bright as new. He had never worn such a bright color before, so he hesitated for a moment. As the emperor, he most often wore bright yellow robes, but he had a deep and introverted personality, so he usually liked black and dark colors. Suddenly wearing a red robe at this time, he found it hard to accept. Little brother, do you dislike my old and dirty clothes and don't want to wear them? The old man saw that he wasn't changing, so he revealed a look of displeasure. Of course not. Emo Chuan thought that Ning would laugh at him after he put it on, since he was already used to being teased by her. He took off his dirty robe and changed into the bright red robe. Although it was a little short, it fit him well. The bright red color made him look even more handsome and outstanding. Little brother, you look much more handsome in this dress than when I wore it back then. The old man sighed and led Emo Chuan out of the room. Who would have thought that Chin Ning would also be walking out of the room at this time? She and Emo Chuan looked up and saw that the other person had changed clothes. They were both stunned and their faces turned red at the same time. This was because Chin Ning was also wearing a bright red dress, but the hem and sleeves of the dress were embroidered with delicate patterns, making it look like a wedding dress. Chapter 8:21. Similar, very similar. Old woman, this seems to be the red wedding dress you wore to marry me in the past, right? That's right, you're giving this little brother the same wedding robe you wore to the wedding ceremony, right? The old man and the old woman laughed together, making Emo Chuan and Chin Ning feel both happy and shy. Little brother and little wife, you two eloped, but you haven't married yet, right? If you want to live together, it's best if you do it first. There's chicken and wine here, as well as 2 red candles. There's no time like the present, you can just do it here. Once you're married and have a child, the little wife will bring the child back to her parents' home. Even if her parents aren't willing, they will still agree to your marriage. What do you say, all right? The old woman enthusiastically held Chin Ning's hand, smiling so much that she couldn't close her mouth. Chin Ning's face was as red as a peach blossom in March. Her eyes sparkled as she smiled at Emo Chuan and said with a smile, all right. Emo Chuan's heart skipped a beat, almost jumping out of his chest. He stared at Chin Ning. Although he loved the red color on her face, he was still stunned by her boldness. What did she mean? She wouldn't really want to marry him in this simple and crude farmhouse, would she? After the wedding ceremony, it would be the nuptial chambers. He already saw the 2 red candles in front of the hall. The flames were jumping around, just like his heart, not beating in a regular rhythm at all. Ha ha, it's still the little wife who speaks so straightforwardly, not acting like other girls. This old woman was also as straightforward as you in the past. Hey, little brother, your little lover has already agreed to marry you, so say something. Are you willing to take her as your wife? The old woman asked Emo Chuan with a smile. I. Of course he was willing. But in front of 2 outsiders, Emo Chuan was too embarrassed to say anything. The old woman's face sunk and she said in an unhappy voice, you're still hesitating at this time, I don't think you're sincere. If you don't like this little wife, why did you elope with her? Since you ran away with her and you don't want to take her as your wife, what do you mean by that? Could it be you just want to play with her? This old woman will be the first one to disagree. If you don't want to marry her, there are many good young men in our village. They are healthy, strong, and good at farming. Little wife, believe me, I will definitely choose the best young man to be your husband. Chin Ning was very happy hearing this. She bit her lips to stop herself from laughing. She looked at Imo Chuan and said with a nod, "All right, many thanks, old woman." The veins on Imo Chuan's forehead popped out. He forcefully stared at Chen Ning. This girl was becoming more and more daring. She still dared to nod and say, "All right." You can't. You can't. The grandma stood in front of Chen Ning and said to him with a pout, "This kind of good girl, but you're not willing to marry her. Could it be that you won't allow others to marry her?" I'm Chen. Chen to be the same, little wife. Young. The old woman said, the old, young woman's mother. The granny's anger turned into joy. She and the old man congratulated the two of them. Chapter 8:22. Chen Ning raised her brows. "If I don't marry you, then I will regret it." In everyone's eyes, Imo Chuan was an emperor that was high above, enjoying the glory of the world and being respected by the people. But she knew how bitter and tiring it was for him to be an emperor. Marrying him, she might not be able to share his glory. She might have to accept many questions and criticisms, as well as many unknown storms, but she was not afraid of any of it. She had made up her mind long ago. She was determined to follow him. She would go through fire and water. No matter how many difficulties there were in the future, she would walk to the end. "All right, then I'll marry you. You will be my only wife in this life. I will never turn my back on you," he firmly said, each word weighing 1,000 kilograms. She just looked at him and revealed a faint smile. The two of them bowed to the heavens and earth under the old man's praises before being sent into the bridal room. Because it was done in a hurry, there was a piece of red paper on the east and a piece of red cloth on the west, making it look a bit messy. Although it was messy, it added quite a bit of a happy atmosphere. Especially when they saw the bright red bedding on the simple wooden bed, the two of them couldn't help but blush, and their hearts beat faster. The old man and the grandma brought a pair of burning candles into the room and placed them on the table in front of the bed, bringing over several dishes and wine. "Today is a joyous day for the two of you. This bedding is the one we used when we got married and it has already been washed clean. Please don't mind it, there is wine and food here. After the two of you eat, you should rest. A moment of spring is worth 1,000 gold, so us two old men and old women won't disturb you too." After the two of them said this with smiles, they left the room and closed the door for the two of them. They felt like they had made a good couple, so their hearts were filled with joy. They returned to the room to talk, recalling the scene of their marriage. The room was filled with red candles. Imo Chuan and Chen Ning were both wearing bright red wedding clothes, sitting across from each other at the table. The candlelight flickered and reflected a red glow on their faces. Imo Chuan's heart was beating fast and his palms were covered in sweat. His back was straight, not moving at all like a pine tree. Although he still had an expressionless face, Chen Ning could see from the subtle expressions on his face that he was as nervous as a taut bough. He did not even dare look at Chen Ning. Since the old couple left the room, his eyes had been staring at the old wooden table. It was like a flower had bloomed on the table, or like the person sitting in front of him was not his beloved girl, but rather a man-eating tiger. Chen Ning held her chin in her hand and looked at him without blinking. The more she looked, the more she wanted to laugh. This Imo Chuan, how could he be this cute? She suppressed a smile and stood up to pour 2 cups of wine. She gave one of the cups to Imo Chuan and said with a smile, "Imo Chuan, how about we drink wine?" When she stood up, Imo Chuan's eyes looked up and stared at her. But when he heard the words, "cross cups," his face, which was already red to his ears, turned even redder. His eyebrows twitched as he stared at her in disbelief. How did she even know about crossing cups of wine? Why is she not shy like a bride? She actually poured wine for him as if nothing had happened. Chapter 823. She indeed did not feel like there was anything to be shy about. Like the wedding ceremony and the wedding night, she had seen it countless times in the modern era. Moreover, this was her first time wearing an ancient wedding dress, so her heart was filled with excitement, like she was playing house. But the more natural she was, the more Mo Chuan was annoyed. He was so nervous that he didn't know what to do, but she acted like nothing had happened. How could she be this calm? He suddenly thought of something. This wasn't her first time going through the wedding ceremony. When she and Chu Xiaoyang were married, did they drink wine like this? No wonder she seemed like she knew everything. He was filled with jealousy for no reason. Did I say something wrong? If you don't like drinking wine, then don't drink it. There's no need to look at me with such a serious face. Chen Ning was feeling even more strange. Although Mo Chuan's face did not have any expression, she could see that he was angry. It was a sunny day filled with spring winds, but in the blink of an eye, it had turned into a dark cloud that turned into rain. Mo Chuan took a deep breath and controlled the jealousy in his chest. He tightly closed his lips, not daring to open his mouth. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to stop himself from asking. All right, you don't need to be unhappy. I know that you don't want to marry me. What wedding ceremony, it was just a joke. Originally, it couldn't be taken seriously. She did not even finish before she saw him suddenly stand up. He grabbed her wrist and pushed her to the wall. His head was suddenly pressed down, his fiery eyes were so close to her, and his hot breath was directly on her face. Couldn't be taken seriously. Playing with you? What do you mean? You're not serious at all, are you? You're just joking with me, aren't you? His teeth were grinding and he looked like he was going to devour her. Although there were only 4 people present when they bowed to the heaven and earth, it was unknown just how serious and sincere he was. He treated this simple ceremony with such importance and seriousness, but she had casually said that he was playing with her. She didn't take it seriously at all. If he thought about what she had just said, she was just playing with him. He was a man, how could he accept this? Mo Chuan, when did I say I wasn't serious or that I was playing with you? Don't wrongly accuse me. Also, why are you so fierce to me? Is it because we bowed to the heaven and earth and you think I'm yours, so you can be fierce to me like this? She bit her lips and revealed an innocent expression. Her large eyes blinked as she looked at him, making his angry heart unknowingly soften. He also realized that he looked too fierce. He had never spoken to her so harshly before. But he was angered by her. Ning, I don't want to be fierce to you. I will never be fierce to you again. I won't. His tone softened as he let go of her hand and stroked her soft black hair. All right, since she liked bowing to the heaven and earth, then he would accompany her. Ning, ning. Ning. All of a sudden, he was no longer conflicted, and jealous. Shao, then let. He returned to the table and picked up the wineglasses. He gave one to her, put his arm around hers, raised the glass, and drained it. Chapter 824. Mo Chuan suddenly let go, no longer being tense and no longer being nervous. There really wasn't anything to be nervous about because he could see that she was still a child. She felt that bowing to the heaven and earth was very interesting and fun, so she pulled him into this game. But it was just a game and it wasn't real. When he thought about how his heart was about to jump out of his chest, he found it very funny. Only a fool like him would take her words as the truth. But even if he knew that she was just playing, he would still take each step seriously. He couldn't let her down, he wanted to make her smile happily. His change was just too fast, it was like he was a completely different person. Even though Chen Ning was an expert in micro-expressions, she still couldn't see why Mo Chuan had become like this. She raised her wine cup and was in deep thought when Mo Chuan suddenly said, "If you don't like drinking wine this way, then you can drink it in another way." "What way?" As soon as she asked this, he took her wine cup and drank it in one gulp. Then he lowered his head and kissed her lips. He held her face in his hands, making it impossible for her to move away, to flinch, until she swallowed the wine. "Now that we've crossed cups of wine, what's next?" He let go of her and his dark and deep eyes looked at her without blinking. There was a faint flame in his eyes. Her face was like a rosy red cloud. Although it was only a small cup of wine, it had already dyed her face red and made her heart intoxicated. This Mo Chuan, he always liked to use this kind of method. But she liked it. Next. Of course it's the nuptial chambers. Her face was red as she deliberately said this. She wanted to see him embarrassed, nervous and shy. Nuptial chambers. All right. Mo Chuan immediately picked her up and walked over to the red bed without any hesitation. Her heart was beating fast. She never thought that he would be this bold and direct. Why wasn't his face red or shy at all? Could it be that men had all turned into wild beasts at this time? She suddenly felt a bit afraid and shy. Then she couldn't help feeling nervous. He placed her down on the bed. She suddenly knit her brows and softly cried out, "It hurts." There was something on her body that was hurting her back. He immediately picked her up again and opened the red blanket. He found that there was a layer of red dates, peanuts, longans, and other dried fruits under it. No wonder it hurt her. "Why are you doing this on the bed? Is that Grandma trying to harm us?" Mo Chuan said in a strange voice. "Of course not." Chen Ning couldn't help rolling her eyes at him. "You don't even know this. During weddings, these are placed under the wedding bed for good luck." "What good luck?" Mo Chuan asked. He really didn't understand. These were some of the customs of marriage among the common people. He was always buried in the affairs of the country and didn't care about these small things. "That's right, give birth to a child soon." She chuckled. He understood and his handsome face couldn't help turning red. "How do you know so much?" As he spoke, he waved his hand and swept all the dried fruits to the ground, not leaving a single one behind. Then, he carefully put her down. I know a lot of interesting things. Do you want to hear them?" Chapter 825. Who would have thought that these words would poke the hornet's nest? Mo Chuan's chin tightened and his forehead kept jumping up and down. "Something very interesting. For example." "Let's hear it." His voice was soft and his eyes were staring right at her. What was the most interesting thing in the nuptial chambers? She wouldn't be telling him how to go to the nuptial chambers, right? As long as she dared say a single word, he didn't mind letting her know how strong he was. For example. She turned her eyes and tried to think of interesting stories she had read, but the more nervous she was, the more she couldn't think of anything. Especially when Mo Chuan was this close to her. Although his body wasn't pressing down on her, his eyes were dark and filled with flickering flames. Those flames seemed like they could start a prairie fire. As long as she gave him a small hint, it would instantly ignite a raging fire between the two of them. Her throat was dry and her body began to sweat. She wanted to avoid his aggressive gaze, but she couldn't bear to. She liked the way he looked at her. It was so deep and intense, it made her heart melt. She began to feel intoxicated and the wine she drank began to ferment in her body. It made her feel like she was lying in the clouds, making everything seem unreal. Mo Chuan, I. She looked at Mo Chuan who was leaning down. His arms were on both sides of her body and the candlelight cast his shadow on her. She could clearly see every minute expression on his face. His eyebrows were so dark and thick, his eyelashes long and dense, and his eyes were like bottomless pools of water. She swallowed all the words she wanted to say back into her stomach. "What do you want to say, Un?" He stared at her with dark eyes. Right now, she was extremely beautiful. She was lying on the bright red quilt, and the dazzling red made her skin as white as snow. Her eyes were intoxicated, and there were stars flickering within them. Her lips were captivating red, like a tempting fruit, tempting him. He really wanted to take a bite. Let's go to the nuptial chambers." She suddenly steeled her heart and closed her eyes, blurting out. She finally said it. If they continued to look at each other ambiguously, she felt that her heart was going to jump out. Since they were already married, she had already decided to give herself to him completely. Since it would happen sooner or later, it was better to let it happen sooner. Pooh! Mo Chuan couldn't hold it in and spat out. His arm went limp, and his entire body fell heavily on her, causing her chest to feel a dull pain. Mo Chuan, you're hurting me. She knit her brows. His pectoral muscles were so strong that she almost vomited blood under them. Mo Chuan forcefully took in a breath before standing up from her body. His face was already red to his ears and his voice was hoarse when he spoke. "You know what the nuptial chambers are?" He stared at her. This was simply a torturous seductress. Did she have to take the initiative? Did she really know? He didn't know what the nuptial chambers were. "Of course I don't know." She flinched under his aggressive gaze. She knew. She wasn't a noble young lady from ancient times who was raised in a deep boudoir. Her pitiful knowledge of the boudoir came from her mother. Although she had no experience, she had read a lot of books. Chapter 8:26. But she did not dare say it out loud. This was because she suddenly thought of a book she had read before. A woman couldn't be too proactive or too direct at this time. She had to be shy and weak, and she had to be affectionate. Only like this would a man feel more pity for her. This is bad. Wasn't she being too passionate and proactive? No wonder Mo Chuan's expression was strange, changing between dark and clear. She blinked and suddenly realized. But she didn't know how to pretend to be shy and weak. What should she do? Hearing that she didn't know, Mo Chuan was finally satisfied. He was really afraid that she would say she knew. If she really knew, then he simply did not know what to do next. Since she didn't know, it was much easier. "Then, let's go to the nuptial chambers now." Mo Chuan gave a low laugh. His handsome brows were tinged with a faint red, and his dark and deep eyes were like a deep pool that attracted her gaze, making her reluctant to blink. "Close your eyes," he ordered. Her fiery gaze made his handsome face blush. His heart was about to jump out of his chest when she looked at him. If she continued to stare at him like this, he would not dare continue at all. Chen Ning's long eyelashes blinked and she obediently closed her eyes. Her heart was beating fast and it was filled with a faint expectation, as well as an inexplicable nervousness. Her palms were sweaty and her body was tense. Because she couldn't see with her eyes closed, her other senses were filled with inspiration. She felt that he was about to leave and couldn't help asking, "Where are you going?" Mo Chuan's voice was a bit hoarse, blowing out the candles. The two candles were just too bright. There were some things that he was too embarrassed to do under this kind of flickering light. "You can't blow them out, these are the nuptial chambers candles. If they burn until the sun rises, it means that the couple will love each other until their hair turns white. If the nuptial chambers candles are extinguished, the couple won't be together forever." Her words were clear and logical, causing his body to stiffen. How did this girl know everything? He turned around and put down the curtain. The cloth curtain blocked the candlelight, and the light was dimmed a little. Mo Chuan took a deep breath. When his heart wasn't beating so fast, he finally dared look at her lying beside him. Her jet black hair was like ink as it was draped over the red pillow. Her eyes were closed and her cheeks were filled with intoxication, making his heart that had just calmed down once again ripple. He slowly laid down beside her until their heads were side by side. He pulled the blanket over both of them and leaned over to give her a light kiss on her lips. "All right, let's go to sleep." His breath was filled with the sweet scent of her body. It seeped into his heart and made him involuntarily restless. It took a lot of effort for him to restrain himself from reaching out to hold her in his arms. His two arms were obediently stuck to the sides of his body, not moving at all. He didn't even touch a corner of her clothes. This was because he didn't dare to touch it. He was afraid that once he touched it, he would be confused about where he should touch and where he shouldn't. To be able to lie on the same bed with her, sharing the same pillow, and sleeping face to face, to him, was already a scene that he had never dreamed of. If there was anything else, he didn't even dare think about it. As long as he opened his eyes now, he would be able to see her face that was even more beautiful than a begonia flower in front of him. He was so close to her that he could even smell her breath. He would definitely wake up from his dreams tonight. Chapter 827. Mo Chuan closed his eyes in satisfaction. Chen Ning waited for a long, long time. She only received a gentle touch on her lips and then there was no more movement. Only when Mo Chuan's light breathing sounded out did she slowly open her eyes. Then she opened them wide in disbelief. He fell asleep. He actually fell asleep just like this. Didn't he just say he wanted to go to the bridal room with her? Could it be that the bridal room he was talking about was just sleeping? For a moment, Chen Ning didn't know if she should be angry or find this funny. She really wanted to wake him up and ask him for an explanation, but before her hand could touch his shoulder, she took it back. Seeing his calm sleeping face, she was actually reluctant to disturb him. But she couldn't fall asleep, so she propped her chin on her hand and stared at him with her hair draping over her shoulders. She had never seen him this close before. The more she looked, the more she felt that not only was he handsome, even his sleeping appearance was very handsome. His hair was very black and thick. She held a lock of hair in her palm and suddenly thought of a story. The so-called married couple naturally had to tie their hair together. That's right. Her interest was immediately aroused. She took a lock of his hair, tied it with her own, and made a knot. But the hair of both of them was too smooth, and as soon as she let go, the knot fell apart. She was not convinced. She grabbed his hair and tied another knot, but it fell apart again. After trying several times without succeeding, she was a bit discouraged. Her eyes blinked and she suddenly slapped her forehead. She was really stupid. Tying the hair of a married couple referred to tying the hair of two people together with a red string. How could it be tied like this? After understanding this, she began to look around for a red thread, but she was lying on the bed right now, so where would there be a red thread? She suddenly thought that there would be a needle basket in the room and there would be a red thread inside. As long as she went out of the bed to look, she would definitely be able to find it. But Mo Chuan was sleeping on the outside and she didn't want to disturb him, so she opened the blanket and slowly moved to the end of the bed. She stepped over his leg and took a breath to get off the bed, but a large hand suddenly grabbed her ankle. "Girl, you're not sleeping, what do you want to do?" Mo Chuan pulled her and she fell onto him. His chest was firm and warm. It was very elastic, not hurting her at all. I want to get off the bed and find a red thread to tie our hair together." She looked up from his embrace and innocently blinked at him, suddenly coming to a realization. "Ah." So you weren't sleeping at all. You were pretending to be asleep to trick me. Mo Chuan's face couldn't help turning red. Could he not pretend to be asleep? Could it be that he really wanted to consummate his marriage with her? But she stayed by his side and didn't sleep. Her eyes were wide open, staring at him without blinking. Even though his eyes were closed, he almost blushed from her stare. When she finally stopped looking at him, she began to play with his hair again. As he pretended to be asleep, he heard her shaking her head and sighing from time to time. She grabbed his hair and refused to let go. He didn't know what she was up to, but he almost broke his cultivation. She finally stopped with great difficulty and wanted to escape from the bed. Mo Chuan couldn't keep pretending this time. It was hard for him to find her, so how could he let her run away again? He tightly hugged her with his arms and used a lot of strength. His dark and deep eyes looked right into hers. Chapter 8:28. I'm not leaving, I just want to find. Her words suddenly stopped. Mo Chuan suddenly raised his head and kissed her lips. Her eyes were wide open as she stared at him in a daze. Why did he just kiss her like this, not giving her any time to prepare? But then, her heart began to beat rapidly. Had he already made up his mind and was preparing to consummate the marriage with her? The prelude to consummating the marriage began with a kiss. She closed her eyes and focused on this kiss. Her face was very red and her heart was beating very fast. Her soft as cotton body slowly heated up in his embrace. His breathing became rushed and his handsome face was covered in a layer of red. He only wanted to properly kiss her, but he gradually couldn't hold back. His kiss became hotter and hotter, already reaching an unstoppable momentum. He wanted to leave her, but he was reluctant. Adding in the fact that she was tightly hugging his neck, he was incomparably intoxicated. As the temperature rose, Mo Chuan felt like there was a flame burning in his body. So hot. He suddenly threw off the blanket and turned around while hugging her. He placed her under his body, but he didn't put his body weight on her because he knew that she couldn't bear it. He closed his eyes and kissed her in ecstasy. His kiss was very deep and when he felt her response, he felt like he was flying into the sky. Then it became harder and harder for him to control his actions. He didn't know when, but his hand had already slid down from her soft face, caressing her slender and white neck. Then it slowly moved down, reaching into her collar, and further down. It was the place he wanted to touch, but didn't dare to touch. He stopped. I want to touch you, can I? He took a deep breath and his lips slid down to her ear. He spoke in a low voice that was filled with suppressed excitement. Her cheeks turned red and she replied without even thinking, "Of course you can, we've already gone through the wedding ceremony. I'm already married to you, so you can do whatever you want." Before she could finish, Mo Chuan had already covered her mouth. He felt that if she kept talking, he really wouldn't be able to control himself. Do whatever I want. Did she not know how enticing these words were to a man? His willpower wasn't strong enough, he couldn't bear it. Mo Chuan's breathing was very chaotic, but his heart instantly calmed down. Now was not the time to take her. He retracted his hand from her collar and helped her fix her messy clothes. Then, he held her in his arms and covered her with the quilt. He kissed her face and said gently, "Don't worry, I'll be fine. Go to sleep." Mo Chuan, you don't want me? Chen Ning opened her eyes and looked at him. She bit her lips and her eyes were filled with confusion. He was clearly trembling with excitement, but he still restrained himself. She couldn't understand why he was restraining himself. "Yes, I'm going crazy," he replied in a low voice. "Then why didn't you do it? You said that you would wait for this moment until we consummate our marriage. Isn't it the wedding night now? Have I been touched by Chu Xiaoyang? If that's the case, I won't force you. Leave now. Chapter 829. She forcefully pushed his arms away and turned her head. Because of her anger, her eyes couldn't help filling with tears. Silly girl, why would I care? I don't care at all, I just. He knew that she was angry, but he didn't know how to explain it. Wasn't she just playing around? Did she think this marriage was just a game? Did she really want him to turn this into reality? Did she really want to consummate the marriage with him? Mo Chuan's mind was in chaos and he couldn't understand what she was thinking. Don't say anything, I don't want to hear it. Mo Chuan, leave immediately. She angrily covered her ears. She was angry and wronged. She was already taking the initiative, but as a man, he was still hesitating and using all sorts of excuses. If he didn't dislike her, then what else could it be? Only she never would have thought that he would care about this. Was her innocence really that important to a woman? If she lost her chastity, he wouldn't even be willing to touch her. What was the use of saying such flowery words and loving words? With the truth in front of her, she couldn't even lie to herself. Don't be angry. Listen to me. He quickly went to hug her. His fingers touched her face and his hand was wet and warm. She was crying. Mo Chuan's heart skipped a beat. He turned her face and saw that her eyes were wet, just like two black grapes in a cold spring. She blinked and 2 drops of tears fell down. She suddenly calmed down and calmly looked at him. She calmly said, Mo Chuan, I now know that you are the same as other men and the things you care about are the same, so I don't blame you. You can leave and pretend that we never met before. I will never appear in front of you again and you can peacefully be an emperor in the future. Marry a pure girl as your empress. I bless you. After she said this, she even curled her lips into a faint smile. Mo Chuan felt like his heart was about to explode. He couldn't understand what he had done wrong to make her be this resolute towards him. She even wanted him to marry another girl, blessing them, and smiling at him. How could she smile? Are you going to separate from me? He asked in a hoarse voice. Yes. She calmly looked at him. Her heart was filled with pain, but she was not willing to let him see her wound. Why? Just because I don't want you. He couldn't figure it out. He was clearly doing it for her own good, but why was she so angry? Her accusations made him confused. Was she blaming him for not caring about her enough? But because he cared for her, he had to respect her. I don't want to say it, I don't want to say a single word. Mo Chuan, I want to leave. She powerlessly closed her eyes. Her head hurt and her heart hurt even more. This was the wedding night that she had dreamed of. She had given herself to him wholeheartedly, but in the end, this was the outcome. He despised her and refused to take her. What else could she say? Mo Chuan stared at her. It was like his head had been struck by lightning, completely stunning him. He couldn't understand why she, who had been so gentle just a moment ago, would turn hostile so quickly. He looked at her cold face and her tightly closed eyes. It was clear that she didn't even want to look at him. Is it that if I take you now, you won't be angry anymore and won't blame me? He pondered for a long time before he could figure it out. Chapter 830. Chen Ning's face instantly turned red. It wasn't from shame, but from anger. She suddenly sat up and her eyes popped out. Her chest rose up and down as she was so angry that she couldn't say a word. What did he mean she wouldn't be angry if he took her? She. When did she have that kind of meaning? She wasn't angry at him for this reason at all. Mo Chuan, leave immediately. She was filled with rage. She grabbed a pillow and threw it at his face with a lot of force. He didn't move and let her hit him. The soft pillow was like a tickle on his body, it didn't hurt at all. However, he saw her trembling with anger, and it made his heart ache. He wanted to make her happy, but he had made her this angry. Ning, don't be angry. I'll give you whatever you want, I'll give it all to you. Mo Chuan hugged her and pressed her under his body, forcefully kissing her lips. He kissed her with a lot of force, tightly entangling her, not letting her say a single word. Woo, woo, woo. She was stunned by his sudden kiss, and then she became even angrier. She struggled angrily under him. What was he doing? Was she forcing him to take her? When did she become this cheap? The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. She forcefully bit down. His lips were filled with pain as she bit them. The faint taste of blood spread on his tongue, but he tightly hugged her, not letting go. She turned her head to avoid his kiss and began to gasp for breath. She had almost suffocated from his kiss just now. If you don't want to touch me, then don't touch me. If you want me, then do it. If you don't want me, then don't. What do you take me for? Am I your toy? You. I hate you. She forcefully shouted out as tears fell from her eyes. She was too angry, she had never been this angry before. At this moment, she really hated him. Mo Chuan's eyes darkened. His mouth was filled with the taste of blood and his lips were burning in pain as he looked at her with a confused gaze. Dear girl, what are you thinking in your heart? Why are you so hard to understand? When he didn't want her, she was angry. When he wanted her, she said that she hated him. What did she want him to do? Ning, as long as you don't get angry or hate me, I'll do whatever you want. Tell me, do you want me to want you or not? Mo Chuan stroked her angry red face and felt his heart ache. He felt that she was cute, but he couldn't get angry no matter what. His tone was careful, and the words that came out of his mouth made him blush in embarrassment, but he was willing to give up his pride in front of her. Chen Ning bit her lower lip, suddenly not knowing what to say. His expression was so serious, as though he really didn't know why he was angry. The way he looked at her was as deep as the sea, filled with deep love for her. If she were to say that he didn't love her, then his eyes clearly told her how much he loved her. Tell me, what do you want me to do to make you not angry? He wanted to kiss her, but he was afraid of angering her. His expression made her want to laugh and be angry at the same time. Ning, do you think that I offended you just now? I really couldn't control myself just now, I just wanted to touch you. If you're not willing, then I won't think like this in the future. Didn't he not touch her yet? Could it be that thinking was wrong? Mo Chuan felt very wronged in his heart. Chapter 831. Chen Ning couldn't help rolling her eyes at him and then letting out a long sigh of relief. What kind of stubborn man had she met? She had clearly told him that he could do whatever he wanted, but he actually thought that she wasn't willing. However, the anger in her heart dissipated in an instant, not a single trace of it was left. She could see that the reason Mo Chuan didn't continue wasn't because he didn't want her or because he despised her, but because he cared about her too much and respected her too much. He was afraid that he would offend her if he didn't follow the rules. But they had already been married, so why did he restrain himself from touching her? Could it be that he didn't take this wedding seriously? Was he just playing house with her? Mo Chuan, tell me. When you were bowing to the heaven and earth with me, what were you thinking? She suddenly looked at him in a very serious manner. Mo Chuan was stunned and his face turned hot. Quickly say it, you're not allowed to lie. As long as you lie, I will see through it. He couldn't avoid it and could only answer, I was thinking at that time that it would be good if all of this was real. What do you mean it would be good if it was real? Could it be that you think bowing to the heaven and earth is a game? It's fake. You weren't serious at that time. Her eyes popped out in surprise and she wanted to be angry again. Of course I was serious. It was you who thought it was a game, but no matter what, as long as you're happy, I'll play this game with you. Ning, do you want me to make it real? I really thought about it earlier. I really want to treat it as our wedding night. I want to share a bed with you, I want to grow old with you, I want to be a real husband and wife with you. His face turned red again. His voice was low, but every word was clear to her ears. She was stunned by his words. He paused for a bit before continuing to say, but not now, I want to give you a grand and glorious wedding. I want you to become my wife in front of everyone and I want you to openly appear in front of everyone. I don't want you to be wronged like this. Ning, it's not that I don't want you, I just want you too much, so I can't let you suffer a single bit of grievance. Do you still hate me and are you still angry at me? If you still won't forgive me, then I swear that before we truly consummate our marriage, I will not touch a single finger of yours. I can endure it. Mo Chuan looked at her with a serious expression. He was very serious, looking as serious as he could be. He never made promises easily. Although being with her and not hugging her was an unbearable torture, he was willing to endure it for her. As Chen Ning listened, her heart was filled with emotions like a wave. Her eyes couldn't help becoming wet. This time, it wasn't because she was angered by him, but because she was touched from the bottom of her heart, making her want to cry. She blinked and said in a low voice, Mo Chuan, you really are a cute fool. Then she threw herself into his arms, hugged his neck tightly, and took the initiative to kiss the corner of his lips. Mo Chuan was stunned like his acupuncture point had been poked. He could feel the soft fragrance of her lips, but he did not dare respond. He was afraid that he would not be able to control himself and do something that would make her angry. He didn't even dare hug her. Chapter 832. Mo Chuan, that wedding just now, perhaps it was very simple and ordinary in your eyes. There was no attention or glory, but when I bowed to the heaven and earth with you, I thought that from now on, we would be husband and wife, becoming one. I wasn't playing around, I was very, very serious. I just want to be with you, I don't care about anything else. I don't feel wronged at all. You really are silly, how could you think that I was playing around? Would I play around with my happiness? I want to give myself to you, but you don't want it. She pursed her lips in grievance and innocently blinked her large eyes. A flower bloomed in Mo Chuan's heart, making him almost unable to believe his own ears. Who says I don't want it? Of course I want it. He desperately hugged her, tightly holding her in his embrace as he said in a trembling voice, Ning, bite me as hard as you can. I feel like I'm dreaming. Are you really as serious as I am? Actually, when I bowed to the heaven and earth with you, I already thought of you as my wife, but that really is too unfair to you. He was so excited that his words were incoherent. A wave of ecstasy had completely submerged him. Chen Ning couldn't help wanting to laugh. She bit his ear and said in a low voice, You're just dreaming, fool. Mo Chuan smiled and his brows relaxed. His eyes that were as clear as the mountains in the distance curved up. All right, I'm dreaming. Then I want you to dream with me, to keep this beautiful dream going. With her words, he no longer had any misgivings. That's right, they had already bowed to the heaven and earth and were now in the nuptial chambers. What did he have to worry about, what did he have to restrain? Of course he had to do what a groom should do. The temperature in the room became higher and they both began to sweat. Her face turned as red as a peach blossom in March and her expression became more and more charming. His heart began to beat faster and his mouth became dry. Ning, you. Are you hot? His voice trembled as he spoke. She seemed to know what he wanted to do. Her eyes looked down and she nodded. Although she had been looking forward to this moment, when it really came, she was still shy. Especially when she thought of what would happen next, she was so nervous that she couldn't move at all. Then I'll help you take off your clothes. Mo Chuan was even more nervous than her. He had never taken off a girl's clothes in his life before reaching out to untie her waist. His fingers were trembling and he couldn't untie it even after trying several times. Instead, he pulled it into a dead knot. He was so nervous that he began to sweat, but the more anxious he was, the more he couldn't untie it. In the end, the more anxious he became. Pfft. Seeing his flustered appearance, she couldn't help but laugh. With a smile, she wasn't so nervous anymore. Especially when she saw him getting more and more nervous, she actually relaxed. Chen, he had more experience than her. Shao! He glared at her threateningly. His face turned red from her laughter. He was so nervous that he didn't know what to do, but she still laughed at him. I laugh, he said, moch. She held back her laughter and shut her mouth. She lazily laid on the bed and watched as his forehead was covered in sweat as he studied her dress. Chapter 833. At this time, how could he have the heart to study the mystery of the wedding dress? In a rush, he directly grabbed her clothes and pulled them down. Mo Chuan, this is the wedding dress that the mother-in-law wore. If you break it, the old mother-in-law will be heartbroken. She gave a soft laugh and held his hand. But this wedding dress is too hard to take off. How about you teach me? I also don't know how. She looked up at him with a smile on her lips. This was personally put on by the mother-in-law. It's too complicated, I can't learn it. Mo Chuan's face instantly turned dark. What should he do? He couldn't take it off or he couldn't take it off. He couldn't run out to find the mother-in-law to take off her clothes, right? That would be too shameful. But looking at the charming flower in front of him, not being able to eat her, this kind of heart-scratching feeling was just too torturous. Chen Ning gave a giggle, laughing so hard that she bent over. Why didn't she find that Mo Chuan was this cute and easy to trick before? He treated a random sentence of hers as the truth. Alright, so you were purposely teasing me. Little girl, see how I'll take care of you. He was embarrassed and angry as he held her down and tickled her under her arm. She kept begging for mercy from the tickling. I don't dare, I really don't dare. Her voice was delicate and charming, making his heart beat faster. He unknowingly stopped, but he still held her down and glared at her. Speak, why are you teasing me? I just wanted to tease you. Who told you to make me angry before, so we'll take our revenge and we're even. She revealed a smile. Why are you so narrow-minded? I'm so narrow-minded. Are you regretting marrying me? It's not too late if you regret it. No one saw our wedding, so it doesn't count. Who says it doesn't count? If you say it doesn't count, You'll what? She raised her chin and looked at him with a smile. I'll kiss you. He lowered his head and kissed her lips. He slowly pushed her body down on the bed. He closed his eyes and kissed her with all his heart. This was a kiss without any impurities. It was like he wanted to pass all of his passion to her through this kiss. He didn't tug on her dress again. The fiery impatience in his body had disappeared. Right now, He just wanted to kiss her. That was enough. Chen Ning's eyes became slightly moist again. She accepted his kiss and also responded to it. She could feel his sincerity and love. Even at this time, he respected her and restrained himself. He always followed her wishes and did not force her. In this world, she could not find a second man who would love her like this and treat her like this. He was the only one. However, this was their wedding night. How could they end it with just a kiss and a hug? She said she was going to give herself to him. While Emo Chuan was kissing her in ecstasy, her hands were quietly moving over her body, undoing the incomparably complicated wedding dress without anyone noticing. Although the wedding dress was very complicated, she had a photographic memory, so she only needed to see it once to learn it. The bright red wedding dress spread out under her body like a blooming begonia flower, bright and beautiful. Chapter 834. Emo Chuan finally realized that something was wrong. The flame in his body that had been extinguished with great difficulty had unknowingly started to gather energy again. He was a bit annoyed. He couldn't control himself and he wouldn't help her take off her clothes. If this continued, wouldn't he be the one suffering? When he was prepared to leave her body, he was suddenly stunned and looked at her in a daze. Her black, waterfall-like hair covered the pillow, making her face look especially white and tender. She was staring at him without blinking, her clear and bright eyes were watery and her lips were bright red. The red wedding dress had come apart at an unknown time and her white as jade skin could be vaguely seen under her loose underwear. Through the open collar, he could see her slightly rising and falling chest, snow-white and delicate. He suddenly looked away, not daring to keep looking. His heart was already beating so fast that it was about to jump out of his chest. She raised her hand and held his face, deeply looking into his eyes. Emo Chuan, do you like it? If you like it, then take it. I'm yours. She whispered. Emo Chuan couldn't say a single word. His throat was very hoarse and his face was as red as the wedding dress under her. His strong self-control collapsed in front of her, completely disappearing. He finally reached out with a trembling hand and placed it under the collar of her underwear, moving it down bit by bit. She just closed her eyes shyly, and her jade-like skin slid under his palm. Dong! 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 His heart was beating so fast and his palm was soft. It was like he could feel her heartbeat. It was as fast and urgent as his own. His breathing became even more chaotic. He never knew that her body could be so soft. It was as soft as a puddle of water, and as delicate as silk, bringing with it a sense of warmth. It was as if he was in a trance, and the fire in his heart burned fiercer and fiercer. He wanted more and more. Their bodies were as hot as fire as they tightly hugged, kissed, and caressed. They were incomparably curious about each other's bodies and were filled with anticipation and nervousness about what was about to happen next. Emo Chuan's body was like a drawn bow. He had no experience at all and was just relying on his instincts. Sometimes he would accidentally hurt her when he used too much strength. She couldn't help knitting her brows and making a "si" sound. He would immediately stop and ask her, "Does it hurt?" He was this careful, holding her in his palm, not willing to let her feel pain. But she knew that a woman's first time always had to go through that tearing pain. Only then would she remember that he was her man, her only man. "I don't feel pain. If you want to do it, then do it boldly, don't worry about my feelings." She was panting as she whispered in his ear. He was taking care of her body like this, which made her feel embarrassed. She wasn't a delicate and fragile glass doll, how could she break with just a touch? Emo Chuan's body instantly froze. He took a deep breath and looked down at her. How could he not care about her feelings when doing such a thing? But he didn't have any experience. Mo Chuan's heart. Mo, he did his heart. But he really had no experience. He didn't know what to do to make her feel better. Chapter 835. There were quite a few old maids in the palace that were proficient in this area. Before the previous emperor's wedding, they would teach the emperor about this matter. But he had lived for 24 years and had always been pure, not having any interest in this matter at all. Not only did he not have an empress, he did not even have a single palace maid or concubine, making the old maids in charge of teaching him completely useless. If he had been enlightened earlier, he would not be at a loss like he was now. Large drops of sweat fell from his forehead and his body was as tense as a rock, ready to explode at any moment, but he did not dare do anything. Because her body was too soft, her skin was too tender. A light touch or pinch would leave an obvious mark on her tofu-like body. Her neck and chest were a patch of red and purple, which was a ghastly sight to behold. These were all marks left on her body after he lost control. How could he continue like this? Ning, are you in a lot of pain? His heart ached as he stroked her smooth skin. It was as soft as a feather, not daring to use any strength at all. I don't feel any pain. Chen Ning was a bit confused. He did not even get to the main topic, so how could she feel pain? She opened her eyes and met his eyes, which were filled with pity and tears. She was stunned. What was wrong with him? She followed his line of sight and couldn't help but jump in fright. Did she open a dye shop on her body? Red, purple, and blue, then she understood. The body she had transmigrated into was simply made of tofu. It was unbelievably delicate. She had only been kissed and pinched a few times by him and she had become like this. I really don't feel any pain, really. You can continue. She knew that his heart ached for her, but she really didn't feel any pain. Compared to the piercing pain that was coming, this didn't count for anything. Her heart ached for him. He had endured this hard, with large drops of sweat falling from his forehead, but he still hadn't reached the last step. He loved her this much, so she was willing to feel pain for him. No. Mo Chuan took a deep breath and closed his eyes. He rolled off her body and fumbled around to cover her clothes, covering her snow-white skin. Then he covered her with the blanket before letting out a long sigh of relief. Mo Chuan took a deep breath and looked at Mo Chuan. Of course, he felt terrible without any relief, but he couldn't do it. Mo Chuan, why are you so good to me? Chen Ning said in a soft voice. She leaned over and her black hair rested on his broad shoulder. Why did he suddenly give up halfway? She understood this better than anyone. Her heart was filled with emotions and her throat was choked up. She felt extremely ashamed. He had placed her on the tip of his heart, yet she had misunderstood him and was angry at him. She was too sorry for the love he had given her. Compared to his feelings, what she had done for him was far too little. Silly girl, if I don't treat you well, then who should I treat well? Don't tell me you want me to treat your little girl Xiao Ru well. He gave a soft laugh and reached out to hug her. That wave of excitement had already passed, but he was still in the mood to joke around with her. If you want to be good to her, that's exactly what I want. She said with a smile. Lying in his warm embrace, even if she didn't do anything, she would feel at ease. Chapter 836. How could I be jealous of Xiao Ru? Are you trying to kill two birds with one stone? What kind of person do you think I am? Mo Chuan pinched the tip of her nose in punishment. Of course he did not dare use any strength, he just lightly touched it before taking his hand back. Then how do you want to treat her well? She blinked. She's your maid, of course I want to treat her differently. Whatever she wants, I can give her. I remember that your maid likes money a lot, right? She even gave me the name Lots of Money, Humph. Thinking of this ugly and tacky nickname, Mo Chuan's face turned dark. Chen Ning began to giggle. I think it suits you. Who told you to give 50 silver coins to a swindler without even looking at it? You're just a stupid person with a lot of money. Alright, you're making fun of this one. See how this one punishes you. He pretended to tickle her. She hugged his arm and said with a smile, Emperor's husband, please be lenient. Call me that last word. If it sounds good, this one will forgive you. Husband. She immediately changed her words and revealed a sweet smile. It made his heart itch, like it was being brushed by a little feather. Call me that again. Husband. Call me that again, my husband, my husband, my husband. She looked at him with a smile, calling him affectionately. Listening to her, his heart melted. He covered her mouth. Don't call me that again. If you keep calling me that, I won't be able to hold it in. His forehead began to sweat. Chen Ning couldn't help smiling. Why was he so cute? Mo Chuan gritted his teeth as he stared at her. She was a little witch that stirred up trouble. She provoked him, but she didn't put out the fire for him. He felt that if he continued to lie beside her, he would suffer for the rest of the night. So he got up and prepared to sit on a nearby bench for the rest of the night. Who would have thought that she would jump into his embrace? Her soft arms wrapped around his waist, making his body stiffen again. Ning, stop messing around. If you keep bothering me, I'll do very bad things to you. He threatened. She thought, I want you to do very bad things to me, but you won't do it. Alright, do it. Don't say you don't dare. She deliberately provoked him. He really didn't dare. It wasn't because he was afraid, but because he was afraid of hurting her. I knew that you wouldn't dare. She said with a giggle. If you provoke me again, I really won't care. His face darkened. She stuck out her tongue and said with a smile, I'm just joking with you. Mo Chuan, in order to give me the antidote last time, you consumed a large amount of internal energy. Have you been taking Dr. Zhang's medicine? How is your internal energy recovering? When it came to business, Mo Chuan's expression became serious. He nodded. Ning, I wanted to talk to you about this matter. I left in a hurry last time and didn't have time to ask you. Other than Dr. Zhang, did you tell anyone else about this recipe? Chen Ning shook her head and said, No, I don't know if this method is real or fake, it was just recorded in an ancient book. I had no other choice at the time, so I could only try it out. Saying this, she smiled and winked at him. Mo Chuan knew that she was teasing him, but he didn't laugh. His expression was very serious. Chapter 837. Chen Ning's eyes turned and she revealed a look of understanding. You're saying that a man is innocent, but treasuring a jade ring is his crime? That's right. Mo Chuan gave her a smile of praise. She really was smart, understanding with just a hint. I will definitely keep this secret and definitely won't reveal it. You can be assured. She promised. Towards you, of course I'm assured. There are only a few people that know about this matter. You, me, Dr. Zhang, and Zhui Feng. Other than the four of us, there can't be a fifth person that knows. Then. You won't even tell Xiaoxi. Mo Chuan nodded. It's not that I don't trust Xiaoxi, but the fewer people that know about this the better. Xiaoxi is naturally loyal to me and would never betray me, but he is still young and can't resist some kind of temptation. For example, that girl of yours, Xiao Ru. He looked at her with a smile. She blurted out, Xiaoxi is a eunuch, how could Xiao Ru tempt him? That's hard to say. Are eunuchs not men? Eunuchs also have the feelings of men. This child Xiao Xi's life is very pitiful. He entered the palace when he was very young and was cleansed. I'm afraid he doesn't even know the difference between a man and a woman. Mo Chuan had a thoughtful look. He shook his head and stopped talking. Chen Ning was too embarrassed to ask. All right, I understand. I won't even tell Xiao Ru, can you be assured like this? Ning, you still haven't told me, why did Prince Namu let you go? According to what I know, he is infatuated with you and is determined to have you. What method did you use to escape? This question had been in his heart for a long time, but he never had a chance to ask her. She combed her hair and gave him a playful smile. I gave him a gift that he couldn't refuse. I asked him, did he want the gift or me? In the end, he chose that gift, so he let me go. She said with a smile. What gift was that? Even the East Qin crown prince couldn't refuse it. Mo Chuan was very curious. And this gift isn't worth a single coin to you, but to Na Mu Kuo, it is a treasure that cannot be bought with money. She purposely kept him in suspense, making his heart itch. You little girl, what kind of gift is it? She smiled and finally said, actually, it's just some blueprints for building houses. I drew a few pages for him, teaching him how to build houses and sturdy bridges. Tell me, these blueprints are worthless to you, right? Mo Chuan was even more doubtful. It's the building drawings. What kind of treasure is this? Isn't it easy for him to build a house? Our West Chu has skilled craftsmen in this field. The houses they build are spectacular. As long as he says a word, he can take away a large group of craftsmen. How could he give up on you for a few blueprints? This is simply unbelievable. Chapter 838. She asked Mo Chuan. Mo Chuan tightly knit his brows and thought for a while before replying. It must be because their ancestors are used to migrating and living in tents. They are not used to living in built houses. As for bridges, is it because they lack craftsmen that are good at building bridges? Of course not. She shook her head. Then what is the reason? The reason is very simple. It is because the East Qin country's main land is grasslands and the soil is very loose, so it is very suitable for growing plants. However, this kind of soil cannot be used to build houses because under the vegetation, there is a layer of sand, so it is impossible to build a solid foundation. If the foundation is not stable, the houses built will quickly collapse. This is why the East Qin country has always lived in tents and the reason why there are no bridges across the entire country. It's not that they don't want to live in stable houses or that they lack craftsmen, it's that they can't do it at all. Chen Ning's reasoning was easy to understand and Mo Chuan understood it once he heard it, but what he did not understand was how she knew it so clearly. What layer of sand, what not being able to build houses without a stable foundation. Everything was clear and logical. Even a well-read emperor like him did not know as much as she did. Then the blueprint you gave him was how to solve the problem of the layer of sand, allowing them to build strong houses and strong bridges. He asked. That's right. I've read books related to East Qin and understood that their land has this kind of flaw. Their ancestors have lived in tents and it is very hard for them. The winter winds are bone-chilling and the summer is incomparably hot. They want to be like our West Chu, having large and spacious houses to live in, but they can't do it. The houses they build will collapse in less than a month and it is very inconvenient without a bridge. So when Na Mu Kuo saw my blueprint, he treated it like a treasure because he is a man of great talent. Letting hundreds of thousands of East Qin citizens live in comfortable houses and building bridges across every river in East Qin, this has always been his wish. Compared to his wish, I am just a trivial girl, what do I count for? Mo Chuan, if you were Na Mu Kuo, what would you choose? Her voice was clear and her eyes were bright as she looked at him. Mo Chuan replied without any hesitation, "Of course I would choose you." His answer was out of Chin Ning's expectations. Mo Chuan hugged her and kissed her cheek. He said with a smile, "Our West Chu has strong houses and bridges, so of course I want you. Na Mu Kyo treats the blueprint as a treasure, so he gave up on you to choose it. He is known as the smartest person, but in my opinion, he is not smart enough." "Why?" Chen Ning looked at him. "If I were him, I would choose you. With you, why would I be afraid of not having the blueprint?" She shook her head and said with a serious expression, "Because I told him that if he chose me, I would marry him, but he would never be able to obtain this blueprint from me. I am a man of my word. Na Mu Kyo is a smart person, he would not make the wrong choice." Mo Chuan took in a cold breath. "If he chose you, would you really marry him?" The muscles on his chin unknowingly tightened. Chapter 839. I'm afraid of losing you. His arms holding her tightened. She leaned her head against his shoulder and said in a low voice, "You don't need to be afraid, I will never leave you because I have absolute confidence. Mo Chuan, you have to believe me, I never fight a battle I'm not confident in and I never take risks I shouldn't take. But this time, you are too daring and presumptuous, acting on your own. No matter what, you can't do this next time." He revealed a serious expression. If he didn't suppress her, he didn't know how this girl would act out of control. She had already made him worried this time, he could not endure this kind of torture again. "Yes, sir husband, I don't dare anymore." She stuck out her tongue with a smile. As the two of them talked, her voice became lower and lower. Her starry eyes dimmed and her expression became tired. Finally she leaned against his chest and unknowingly fell asleep. She hadn't had a good rest these past few days and she could finally relax now. She had a sweet sleep, not even having a single dream. Mo Chuan looked at her blue eyes and his heart filled with pity. He gently placed her head against his chest, letting her sleep a bit more comfortably. Although he was just hugging her, his heart was already filled with peace and happiness. He said in his heart, "No matter if others acknowledge last night's wedding or not, in my heart, she is already my wife. I won't allow anyone to separate us." The emperor was missing. What Mo Chuan didn't know was that he had left the capital city for 2 days and 2 nights, causing a large amount of panic in the palace. Empress Dowager Zhou was like an ant on a hot pan, unable to sit still in the peaceful life palace. The people she sent out to investigate all reported back that they couldn't find the emperor's whereabouts. Every time she heard someone report back, her face would sink a bit. She had not closed her eyes in the past 2 days and her eyes were completely red. Her expression was haggard, looking like she would collapse at any moment if a gust of wind blew past her. Seeing this, Su Jin was filled with worry. "Empress Dowager, you should sleep for a bit. When you wake up, perhaps the emperor will return to the palace." "Su Jin, do you think the emperor? Could he have left with that girl?" Empress Dowager Zhou grabbed Su Jin's hand. Her fingers were cold and trembling and her eyes were empty. She was most worried about this matter. "Of course not." Su Jin was shocked and shook her head. "Empress Dowager, you're thinking too much. The emperor is not an irresponsible person, he would not do this kind of reckless thing." Empress Dowager Zhou waved her hand to cut her off. She tiredly rubbed her forehead. How many reckless things he has done. Ever since he got to know that Shen family's young lady, he had never done anything with propriety. As she spoke, her anger flared up again, and her head started to hurt. Su Jin quickly helped her sit in the chair. While helping her rub her temples, she raised her voice and shouted, "Quickly call the doctor and ask Dr. Zhang to come." Empress Dowager Su Su Su. Su Su of Su. Su Tutu Su of Tutu of Su. Of Su Amto Tutu. Chapter 840. Truth. How can you be so sure that he is telling the truth? Although he is young, his heart is not small at all. He has been by the emperor's side since he was young. How could he not know what happened to the emperor? Su Jin, immediately send someone to bring Xiao Si into the palace for this widow. This widow will personally ask for the emperor's whereabouts. This widow does not believe that I can't pry open this dog servant's mouth. Empress Dowager Zhou was filled with anger. With a wave of her right hand, the teapot on the table fell to the ground, shattering into pieces. Empress Dowager, please calm your anger. This servant will send someone to find Xiao Si. Su Jin's expression was filled with fear, knowing that Empress Dowager Zhou was truly angry this time. She quickly went out to pass on the message, secretly breaking out in a cold sweat for Xiao Si. Seeing Empress Dowager Zhou's meaning, it seemed like she wanted to torture Xiao Si. Xiao Si, you can't blame the Empress Dowager. She can't find the emperor, so she can only vent her anger on you. Alas, your majesty, your majesty, where exactly have you gone to? I haven't seen you for 2 whole days and 2 nights. Could it be that you really eloped with Miss Shin? Su Jin's heart was in chaos, filled with worry. She ordered the guards to find Xiao Si. Thinking about it, she thought of another person by the emperor's side. It was the one that came and went like the wind, the hidden guard that was nowhere to be seen. His name was Shui Feng. Although she rarely saw him, she knew of his name. His qigong was very high and he had an unparalleled skill, which was tracking. It said that there was no one in this world that could escape his pursuit. As long as that person was still alive, he would definitely be able to find them. But this Shui Feng was like his name, coming and going without a trace. Where could she go to find him? Su Jin was at her wit's end when her eyes suddenly lit up. A white-haired old doctor came into the Peaceful Life Palace. It was Dr. Zhang. But what caught her attention was not Dr. Zhang, but rather the gray-clothed youth behind Dr. Zhang who was helping him carry his medicine box. That gray-clothed youth had a very normal face. He wasn't tall or short, not fat or thin. If he stood on the street, no one would look at him twice. But when Su Jin saw him, it was like a treasure falling from the sky. Her eyes quickly lit up. She quickened her steps to greet the gray-clothed youth with a look of excitement. You are Shui Feng. When she was in the East Field, she had seen Shui Feng once. At that time, she did not have a deep impression of him. She only remembered that he was wearing gray tight-sleeved clothes and had an expressionless face, which was very similar to the gray-clothed youth in front of her. Shui Feng was stunned. Of course he knew who Su Jin was, so he gave her a slight bow and nodded. Auntie Su Jin, he greeted. Su Jin is Empress Dowager Zhou's most capable aunt, he greeted her greeting, Su Jin. Su Jin. Shui of Su Jin was Empress Dowager Zhou's most capable aunt, so he naturally had a deep impression of her. However, he had never met her before and had never spoken a single word to her. Who would have thought that when he stepped into the Peaceful Life Palace, Su Jin would actually call out his name? He couldn't help but be startled. Then he became vigilant. Did he show his face a bit too much recently? Even the people in the Empress Dowager's palace recognized him. This was not a... Chapter 841. Su Jin was filled with joy as she said, "It's good that you're here." "Where's the emperor?" Shui Feng was stunned. He looked at Su Jin, not understanding what she meant by this. He had been with Dr. Zhang for the past 2 days because the emperor had given Dr. Zhang a secret and important task, which was to make pills that could increase internal energy. How could he miss such a good thing? So he volunteered to help Dr. Zhang test the pills. The emperor happily agreed and told him to protect Dr. Zhang, not allowing any accidents to happen to him. So he had been with Dr. Zhang for the past 2 days, staying together day and night, never leaving each other's side. The news of Mo Chuan's disappearance was completely hidden by Empress Dowager Zhou. Other than the guards sent to search for the emperor, even the most trusted ministers did not know about this because she was worried that if this news was leaked, it would cause panic among the ministers. As for the emperor not going to court for 2 days, she found a very convincing reason. It was because he had to receive the East Qin envoys and the emperor had been working hard for several days. Adding that the wind was strong when he sent off the East Qin envoys, he had accidentally caught a cold. Only this reason could only be used for a few days. If it was too long, it would be exposed. So Empress Dowager Zhou was like an ant on a hot pan, unable to sit still. Now that Su Jin saw Zhui Feng, it was equal to seeing the emperor's leg. How could she not be happy? That's right, where's the emperor? Aren't you the emperor's most capable secret guard? You are responsible for the emperor's safety, not taking a single step away from the emperor. If you're here, where's the emperor? Su Jin saw that Zhui Feng was not replying, so she quickly asked another question. Could it be the emperor is not in the palace? Zhui Feng still did not react and scratched the back of his head. Su Jin saw Zhui Feng's wooden appearance and was filled with anger and worry. She raised her brows and said, if the emperor was in the palace, would I still need to ask you for him? She could not understand. They were both people by the emperor's side, but Xiao Si was so smart, knowing everything with a nod. How could this Zhui Feng be like a block of wood? Aunt Su Jin, this subordinate has been following the emperor's orders and has been helping Dr. Zhang do something for the past 2 days, so this subordinate has not been by the emperor's side. If the emperor is not in the palace, this subordinate does not know where he is. Zhui Feng honestly replied. He turned to look at Dr. Zhang. Dr. Zhang, you can testify for this subordinate, isn't it like this? Zhui Feng honestly replied. He turned to look at Dr. Zhang. Dr. Zhang, is this subordinate's witness? Su Jin was instantly shocked, secretly regretting that she didn't keep her mouth shut. How could she reveal the matter that Empress Dowager Zhou wanted to hide? Now even Dr. Zhang knew about it. What should she do? Her face paled, but it was too late to change her words now. She hurriedly put a finger to her lips and shushed him. Feng, she said, Jin, Feng, she, Zhui, with Jin, she. She looked to her left and right. Fortunately, there was no one around, so she heaved a sigh of relief. Dr. Zhang and Zhui Feng's faces instantly became serious as they asked, what is going on? How could the emperor disappear? When did this happen? Su Jin took a breath. She knew it was useless to hide it and she still needed Zhui Feng's help, so she simply explained the matter of the emperor disappearing over the past 2 days. Chapter 842. When Zhui Feng was praised by her, he couldn't help feeling a bit smug. He scratched his head and said, Aunt Su Jin is right, there is indeed no one Zhui Feng can't find. Then what are you waiting for? Quickly go find the emperor. Su Jin stomped her foot and rolled her eyes at him. If it wasn't because she needed his help, she really wanted to scold Zhui Feng. How big of a matter was the disappearance of the emperor, but he didn't seem to be in a hurry after hearing it. It made people angry just looking at him. Zhui Feng hesitated a bit before saying, Aunt Su Jin, the task the emperor gave this subordinate is to help Dr. Zhang. Before this matter is finished, this subordinate cannot take half a step away from Dr. Zhang. This subordinate does not dare disobey the emperor's orders. When Su Jin heard this, her nose almost went crooked from her anger. She was always dignified and polite, but she couldn't help pointing at Zhui Feng's head at this time. Is your head made of wood? You're not going to find the emperor even if he's gone. Is there anything more important than the emperor's safety in this world? She was so angry that her face changed color. Aunt Su Jin, don't be angry. It's not that this subordinate doesn't want to find him, but rather this subordinate can't find him. Moreover, the emperor has such good martial arts, nothing will happen to him. He might just be in a bad mood, so he went out to relax. When the emperor's mood calms down, he will naturally come back. Zhui Feng secretly looked at Su Jin's face. He thought that this old aunt looked gentle normally, but who would have thought that she would be this terrifying when she was angry? If it wasn't for the fact that his skull was hard, he would have been turned into a sieve by her. What he said was the truth. After following the emperor for so long, he could clearly see what happened to the emperor these past few days. Although he didn't understand why the usually pure emperor would change into a different person, constantly thinking about a girl and tossing and turning for a girl, he knew that this girl was married to the East Qin crown prince as the crown prince's princess. When she went to East Qin, she also took the emperor's heart with her. The emperor must be recuperating in a place where no one could find him. Of course he could find the emperor if he wanted to and it wouldn't take any effort, but did he dare? He didn't dare. Finding the emperor at this time was the same as touching a tiger's butt, he wasn't stupid. You brat really are bold. Do you only listen to the emperor's orders and treat the Empress Dowager's words as wind? Su Jin was finally angry. Actually she knew in her heart that what Zhui Feng said was the truth. The emperor must be hiding somewhere to grieve because he had this habit since he was young. When he was injured or wronged, he would never complain to anyone, not even Empress Dowager Zhou. He would always stay in a place where no one could find him, just like a lonely wolf. Every time Empress Zhou thought of this, she couldn't help but sigh. Empress Dowager Su Jin's heart and Empress Zhou's heart. But knowing was knowing and she could not let people go to the emperor. She knew that the emperor was extremely heartbroken this time and if he were to be impulsive and elope with that young lady of the Shen family, it would be a disaster. Su Jin. He, and Zhou Feng Su Jin Teet. Chapter 844. Zhui Feng had been scolded and he was filled with anger. He glared at Xiao Xi's back and prepared to ignore him. This brat's mouth is this bad, let him be beaten to death by the Empress Dowager. He gave a snort and found a hidden place to hide. He was prepared to wait for Dr. Zhang to finish treating the Empress Dowager before escorting Dr. Zhang away. But after calming down and thinking about it, Xiao Xi's scolding of him wasn't without reason. This brat Xiao Xi had a lot of thoughts and ideas. Sometimes when the emperor gave him a task that he couldn't understand, it was Xiao Xi who gave him pointers that allowed him to follow the emperor's wishes. If there was someone who understood the emperor the most, it would be Xiao Xi. If Xiao Xi was really beaten to death by the Empress Dowager, the emperor's heart would ache a lot. Even if the emperor didn't feel heartache, Zhui Feng couldn't bear to do this. After all, Xiao Xi had helped him quite a bit. Forget it, he would go find the emperor and hope that the emperor would forgive him for Xiao Xi's sake. Zhui Feng's figure swayed and he had already silently disappeared from the peaceful life palace. Xiao Xi, if you don't want to suffer, then tell the truth to this widow. Where is the emperor? In the peaceful life palace, Empress Dowager Zhou sat in the seat of honor, staring at Xiao Xi with a sharp gaze. Xiao Xi couldn't straighten his back as he knelt on the ground. He didn't dare raise his head and just kept kowtowing. Empress Dowager, this servant really doesn't know the emperor's whereabouts. Even if this servant was as bold as the heavens, I wouldn't dare lie to the Empress Dowager. He knew that a disaster was about to befall him today. The Empress Dowager was truly angry, and his little life would probably be lost in this peaceful life palace. He looked around and saw several guards holding sticks that were thicker than an arm. The sticks were painted red, and this was the largest punishment stick in the palace. As long as one was hit, they would either die or be crippled. Xiao Xi's heart was filled with tears. Emperor, oh Emperor, it's fine if you leave, but take this servant with you. The Empress Dowager wants to beat this servant to death, and when you return to the palace, you won't be able to see this Xiao Xi again. Very good, the dog slave refuses to speak. Guards, come and punish him. Empress Dowager Zhou's expression was calm, but she did not allow anyone to say anything. She even ignored Su Jin, who wanted to plead for Xiao Xi. She paused for a moment before continuing, if he doesn't speak, then beat him until he does. If he doesn't speak, then beat him to death. A few guards complied and dragged over a stool. They tied Xiao Xi onto it and raised the punishment stick. Xiao Xi was scared out of his wits and begged repeatedly. Empress Dowager, please spare my life. This servant really doesn't know the whereabouts of the emperor. Empress Dowager, for the sake of this servant serving His Majesty for so many years, even if I don't have any meritorious service, I still have hard work. Please be lenient. This servant's life is cheap. It doesn't matter if you kill this servant, but if the emperor comes back and doesn't see this servant, the emperor will definitely be sad. You are the emperor's mother, are you willing to let the emperor be sad? Although he was extremely afraid, he still tried his best to convince Empress Dowager Zhou. His mind was sharp and his mouth was sharp. These words were reasonable, and it made Empress Dowager Zhou hesitate a bit. The guards responsible for the punishment looked at each other and felt that they couldn't do it. Chapter 845. Although they were acting on the Empress Dowager's orders, if they really killed Xiao Xi and the emperor found out when he returned, the Empress Dowager was his mother and he wouldn't do anything to her, but they wouldn't be able to escape. If the emperor was angered, having their heads removed from their necks would be a light punishment, but they were afraid that their families would be implicated as well. The guards raised their sticks, but they didn't dare hit them. When Empress Dowager Zhou saw this, she was filled with rage as she forcefully slapped the table. Dog servant, your mouth is so crafty. The good emperor has been ruined by a servant like you. If it wasn't for you, the emperor wouldn't be like this today. Heavily beat this dog servant to death for this widow. When the emperor comes back, just wait to collect his corpse. This kind of useless servant, he can't do anything in this world. He will only drag the emperor down. Men, shut his mouth for this AI Jia first, lest he spout nonsense again. What are you doing? You don't even listen to this widow's words. Why aren't you doing it? Xiao Xi secretly complained, knowing that Empress Dowager Zhou was taking her anger out on him. He had been beaten unjustly. He could only hope that when the emperor came back, he would still have a breath left to see the emperor one last time. The guards saw Empress Dowager Zhou give a death order and helplessly found a rag to cover Xiao Xi's mouth. Then they raised their sticks high up and hit Xiao Xi's butt, creating a paw sound. 1, 1, 10. They counted as they hit him. Empress Dowager Zhou angrily said, "What are you counting for? Beat him to death." Su Jin wanted to advise her, but she didn't dare advise her. She secretly gave the guards a look, telling them to be lenient and not beat Xiao Xi to death. She knew that Xiao Xi's life and death were in the hands of these guards. The old people in the palace all knew that when these sticks were hit, it was like thunder and it was like a small rain. It looked like it was being hit, but the criminal would only suffer some flesh wounds and wouldn't suffer any broken bones or tendons. The most terrifying thing was the stun stick. It didn't make a sound, but the stick pierced into the flesh. With just a few hits, it could break bones and make a person vomit blood before dying. Actually, even if she didn't give the signal, the guards would still have this idea. So although they hit him several dozen times, quickly and quickly, causing Xiao Xi's butt to bleed, he wasn't heavily injured. Only Su Jin knew the trick to using the stick. Empress Dowager Zhou had been in the palace for several decades, so how could she not know? She saw that although Xiao Xi's butt was red after several dozen hits, he was still full, so she became even more angry. You are all outwardly obeying, do you think this widow can't see? If this dog servant can still breathe within 10 strikes of the rod, then you don't need to work in this palace anymore. When the guards heard this, how could they dare show any mercy? Although Xiao Xi's mouth was gagged, he still let out a pitiful howl from the pain. Empress Dowager, please don't. Su Jin's face turned white from fear. She quickly kneeled down on the ground and begged for mercy for Xiao Xi. Su Jin, if you say one more word for this dog servant, you will be punished with him. Don't blame this widow for not considering our relationship. Empress Dowager Zhou glared at her. Su Jin bit her lips, feeling anxious and irritated. She knew that Empress Dowager Zhou was venting her anger on Xiao Xi, but what crime did Xiao Xi have to suffer for the emperor? Chapter 846. The guards raised their sticks again. Su Jin had already closed her eyes, she couldn't bear to watch. Xiao Xi knew that he couldn't escape this disaster. Although his mouth was gagged, he still began to cry. Empress Dowager Zhou ignored him. Since she couldn't find the emperor, she just wanted to beat all these dog servants to death. Beat! She slapped the table again. The emperor has arrived. All of a sudden, a loud announcement came from outside the Peaceful Life Palace, causing the people in the room to be instantly stunned. Empress Dowager Zhou suddenly stood up and her sleeves knocked over the teacups on the table. She didn't feel anything as she grabbed Su Jin's hand, filled with surprise and joy. Did you hear? The emperor is here. Su Jin forcefully nodded. Yes, this servant heard. Empress Dowager, please sit, this servant will open the door. Xiao Xi was so excited that his body began to tremble. He was thinking, Emperor, you're finally here. If you were a step late, you wouldn't be able to see Xiao Xi. The guards looked at each other and quietly put down the sticks in their hands, taking a few steps back at the same time. With a bang sound, before Su Jin could even open the door, the two doors to the palace were already pushed open. A person with his back to the light was proudly standing in front of the door. His long eyebrows reached his temples and his eyes were cold and threatening. Everyone only saw the tall and straight bright yellow figure, and they immediately became spirited. Greetings to the emperor. Other than Empress Dowager Zhou, everyone in the room fell to the ground. Their hearts were filled with joy and surprise as a large stone fell to the ground. Empress Dowager Zhou just stood there, staring at Imo Chuan without blinking. Her calm face had no expression, it was hard to tell if she was excited or angry. Your son greets mother. Imo Chuan walked into the room with large steps and bowed down to Empress Dowager Zhou. Empress Dowager Zhou slightly lowered her head and looked at the emperor kneeling in front of her. She calmly said, Emperor, you're back. When Imo Chuan gave an sound, Empress Dowager Zhou had already raised the dragon head cane in her hand and slammed it down on his back. Empress Dowager. Su Jin and everyone else was shocked. Empress Dowager Zhou pretended like she didn't hear it and forcefully slammed the cane down again. Imo Chuan did not dare use his internal energy to resist. These two hits from the cane only caused 2 red marks to appear on his back and it was very painful, but this pain was nothing to him at all. Emperor, this widow gave you 2 crutches today, do you feel wronged? Empress Dowager Zhou said in a deep voice. Imo Chuan respectfully replied, Mother's beating was not unjust, it was your son's fault. Your son has come to ask for mother's forgiveness. You still know that you did something wrong. You have let down this widow's teachings. Empress Dowager Zhou forcefully slammed her cane on the ground. Your son knows his mistake, please don't be angry, mother. You know your mistake. Tell this widow, where did you go wrong? Empress Dowager Zhou stared at him and said. Your son shouldn't have left without saying goodbye and shouldn't have missed morning court for 2 days. Your son is the ruler of a country, but I have neglected politics. Your son has let down the people and let down mother. Mo Chuan replied. When Empress Dowager Zhou heard this, the anger in her heart finally dissipated a bit. Since you know you're wrong, get up. Mo Chuan stood up and suddenly knit his brows, making a Z sound. Empress Dowager Zhou couldn't help rolling her eyes at him. You think this widow hit me too hard? If you dare do it again, this widow will hit you even harder. Although she said this, she still asked Dr. Zhang, do you have any ointment to treat injuries? Chapter 847. Dr. Zhang quickly said, yes, this minister has the best blood circulation ointment here. He opened his medical box and took out a tube of ointment. Su Jin took it and gave it to Empress Dowager Zhou. Empress Dowager Zhou did not take it and looked back at her as she said, when did this widow have to personally do this kind of thing? Her meaning was for Su Jin to help Mo Chuan apply the ointment. Su Jin secretly laughed in her heart. The Empress Dowager still had this temper after all these years, wanting face to suffer. She clearly loved her son and cared about him, but she had to act like she didn't care. Emperor, can you lift your robe and let this servant help you apply the ointment? Mo Chuan shook his head and said, no need. His eyes fell onto Xiao Si, who was tied to the bench, and a cold aura was released from his body, making the guards holding the torches couldn't help shiver. Who tied him up? Who covered his mouth? Who beat this one's people to this state? His cold eyes swept over the guards. The guards' faces turned pale in fear and they all kneeled down. Their bodies trembled as they kowtowed, not daring to say a word. This was because as long as they spoke, it would be the same as offending the Empress Dowager. They couldn't offend the Emperor and they didn't dare offend the Empress Dowager. This feeling of being caught in the cracks, it really was not a good feeling. Hey, you really are bold. This one hasn't returned to the palace for 2 days and you even dare to touch the people by this one's side. Who did this? You have the courage to touch this one's people, but you don't have the courage to admit it. Mo Chuan gave a cold laugh and walked beside Xiao Si. His right hand gently brushed over him and the several dozen ropes binding Xiao Si were cut by a sharp blade, being cut off. Many thanks for the Emperor's saving grace. Emperor, if you came back a step later, this servant would not have been able to see you again. Xiao Si stood up and took out a rag from his mouth. He didn't care about the pain in his, but as he kneeled in front of Mo Chuan and hugged his right foot, crying without making a sound. You are this one's people, whoever touches you is the same as touching this one. You dog guards, you actually dare to make a move against this one's people, do you know your crimes? Mo Chuan's cold eyes swept over the guards and their faces turned pale as they kept kowtowing. Emperor, spare us, Emperor, spare us. How could Empress Dowager Zhou not see that the Emperor wanted to punish them? She slammed her dragon-headed walking stick on the ground and coldly said, Emperor, they are all guards in Aijia's palace. It was Aijia who ordered them to tie up Xiao Si and make them do this. If you want to find someone to blame, then find Aijia. When the guards heard this, they all looked at Empress Dowager Zhou with gratitude, thinking that the Empress Dowager was truly a living bodhisattva. With the Empress Dowager's words, their lives were saved. Empress Dowager Zhou. I don't know what crime Xiao Si committed, for Imperial Mother to beat him to death. Mo Chuan, Mo said, Dowd, Chuan Mo is. Mo 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 Dowd Mo Shao Mo Shao Mo 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 Mo. Ijia gave the order to kill him and then choose a new intelligent and quick-witted servant for the emperor. Shao Si is this one servant, whether he is doing his best or not is up to this one. Mother, for this kind of small matter, there is no need for mother to worry about it in the future. Mo Chuan looked at Empress Dowager Zhou with a straight back. Although his voice was respectful, his expression was cold. Chapter 848. Shao Si was filled with gratitude. He thought that following this kind of master, even if he had to die for him, he would be willing. Empress Dowager Zhou never thought that Mo Chuan would attack her like this for a servant. Her chest filled with anger and she couldn't help coughing, causing her old face to turn red. Empress Dowager, have some tea to moisten your throat. Su Jin quickly handed over a cup of hot tea while secretly looking at the emperor. She hoped that the emperor would say less and give Empress Dowager Zhou a way out. She saw this pair of mother and son begin to quarrel with each other and she knew it was not good. The Empress Dowager was like this, and the emperor was also like this. If the two of them really fell out because of Shao Si, wouldn't they, the servants, be the ones to suffer? This widow won't drink. Empress Dowager Zhou was filled with anger, so she raised her hand and knocked over the teacup. She angrily glared at Su Jin and shouted, "You are becoming more and more bold. This widow's teachings over these years have all been wasted. You are relying on this widow's love for you. Do you still have this widow's master in your eyes?" Su Jin kneeled down. This servant knows her wrongs. She was thinking that she was taking the blame for the emperor again. She would rather the Empress Dowager scold her and take out her anger on her than argue with the emperor. Empress Dowager Zhou shouted, "Know your wrongs. This widow sees that you know your wrongs and won't repent. Kneel down for this widow. When you know your wrongs, then you can stand up." "Yes, Empress Dowager," Su Jin respectfully replied. Mo Chuan thought that as soon as he made an example, his mother had immediately returned the favor. Truly worthy of being his mother, the older the ginger, the spicier the tiger. Of course he understood the meaning behind Su Jin's eyes. She didn't want him and his mother to fight too much, but seeing his most trusted aide almost killed by his mother, how could he not be angry? But when he looked up, he saw that Empress Dowager Zhou's eyes were completely red and her expression was haggard. There seemed to be 2 more fine wrinkles on her brows and there was a bit more white hair on her temples. His heart suddenly felt sour. He wanted to give up everything in the palace and just live the life of a normal person, especially when he was with his beloved girl. He felt that time was short, like in the blink of an eye, a day and a night had quickly passed. But Empress Dowager Zhou couldn't hear any news of him in the palace, so she must be very worried. He only cared about his own happiness and ignored his mother's worries. This was wrong. Thinking of this, his anger towards Empress Dowager Zhou disappeared. He took a step forward and grabbed Empress Dowager Zhou's hand. Mother's eyes, of Empress Dowager Zhou, Chen, and Empress Dowager Zhou's. Am of helped to be, your of with me, of you, of your of Dowager to rest. But she had a strong personality and didn't like to show her emotions. She just looked at Mo Chuan and gave a slight nod. Hand in hand, the mother and son walked into the inner room. See this, the heart, they, Dowager Chen and his saw them all let. What they were most worried about was that when the immortals fought, the mortals would suffer. Now that they saw the emperor and the Empress Dowager getting along well, they were all happy for them. Chapter 849. Dr. Zhang, it's been hard on you. The Empress Dowager is fine now, so you can go back and rest. This servant will have Xiao Si help you carry the medicine box. She gave Dr. Zhang's medicine box to Xiao Si on the side and also placed the blood circulation ointment in his hand. Xiao Si, is your injury all right? She asked. Many thanks Aunt Su Jin for asking for leniency for this servant. And, if it wasn't for you, Xiao Si would have been beaten to death by the Empress Dowager. This servant will never forget your kindness. Xiao Si kneeled on the ground and kowtowed to Su Jin 3 times. Shoo, 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 leave your coaxing skills for the emperor to hear. You little brat, your tongue is too smooth, no wonder the Empress Dowager is angry. Little 4, you have to be more honest in the future. Sometimes having too many thoughts isn't a good thing for you, do you understand? She sincerely said. Yes, yes, yes. Xiao Si will listen to Aunt's teachings. Xiao Si stood up and revealed a smile to Su Jin. It is still Aunt who treats this servant the best. Su Jin rolled her eyes at him. I don't know where that brat Shui Feng went. Help Dr. Zhang carry the medicine box and send this old man back. You can also have him take a look at the injury on your butt. Aunt, you're truly thoughtful. Xiao Si spat out his tongue and his heart was filled with gratitude for Su Jin's good intentions. He had only been injured on the surface several dozen times before, but the last one was very fierce. That one hit had caused his butt to blossom and the pain had reached his bones, making it hard for him to even walk. Xiao Si, come with this old man. Dr. Zhang saw that there was nothing for him to do here, so he wanted to return to the palace as soon as possible. He still hadn't finished the task the emperor gave him. Xiao Si followed behind Dr. Zhang, limping away. Su Jin ordered several guards to move the torture tools out of the room and she also quietly left, closing the door. Her heart was thinking that the Empress Dowager and the Emperor mother and son had many things to say, so it was best if she didn't hear them. In the bedroom, Empress Dowager Zhou was quietly lying on the bed with a blanket covering her. Mo Chuan was sitting in front of the bed, gently massaging her legs. There was an incense burning in the censer in the room, emitting a faint and sweet smell that could calm one's heart. The mother and son did not say a word. Empress Dowager Zhou had her eyes closed like she was asleep, but Mo Chuan knew that she was not asleep. She still had things she wanted to say to him. He was not in a rush to speak and just silently waited. As he expected, after a while, Zhou Tairan closed her eyes and slowly spoke. Chuan, mother sent people to teach Xiao Si a lesson and almost took his life. Are you blaming mother? There was only the mother and son here, so she didn't wrong. Empress Chuan, Empress Chuan, Mo, Chen, there was only the mother and son. Mo, Dowager, and was. And Chuan, Emo, Chen, I have. Mo Chuan's eyes lit up and revealed an intimate look. He rarely heard Empress Dowager Zhou speak to him with this kind of affection. Mo, King, Mo, him. He. Xiao, Mo. Xiao, you're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.